All right, we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Started out with a nice mic mute there just to keep things spicy, keep things interesting. But thank you for joining me for a very, very exciting workshop to kick off November 1st, the first day of NaNoWriMo, the first day on your journey to writing 50,000 words. My name's Doug Lansborough. I see a handful of familiar faces in the chat, but a whole lot of new names. So thank you for joining me. I'll introduce myself in a little bit. But I am so thrilled to see all of the chatter that's going on in the chat here, all of the support that's coming out, all of the encouragement, all of the personal stories and tales. It's awesome. Nancy joining us from Southern California. Yes, please, if you haven't introduced yourself, let me know where you're from. I'm just excited to get to know everyone, and we'll hop into the workshop in just a moment. I always like to give a few minutes to let everyone connect, let the internet get me to you and you to me, and then we'll get into the good stuff. The agenda today, we will do the workshop. We made a comment in the chat here about that. We will do the workshop. We're aiming for an hour to an hour and a half, and then we will follow it up, maybe with a short break to refill water, but we'll follow it up with some live writing sprints. If you want to join us for that, get those initial words in for this exciting month. So let's see who, we have a lot of people here. Okay, we have Jerry from London. We have Athena from Cardiff, Stratfordshire, Diamondo there, Natalie from the, we have a lot of people from the UK. That's awesome to see. Valentine from Oklahoma, Veronica from the Czech Republic. Welcome, first time, welcome. TW, long time no see. We had a Dabble live stream a couple hours ago, and that was the long time ago that TW is talking about. Fod from Morocco, very cool. Tatiana from Oregon, awesome. Awesome. We have people from India, Washington State, Amsterdam. There's too many for me to keep up with, which is very exciting. Awesome. Yeah, the UK represent. I'm from Canada myself. It is trying to figure out whether it's winter or fall here still. We're getting a mix of freezing temperatures and t-shirt weather all in the same week. So all very exciting. Okay, we have South Africa, Southampton, the Netherlands, Stockholm, New York City, Colorado. Awesome. All of these first timers here too. Oh, Mythic is from my province, Ontario. And sorry, that's Josh from Ontario. Always go with the username first. All right, awesome. A pleasure to meet everybody. I want to point out something just before we get started with the presentation and the deck and all of the tips and stuff. And that's Diamondo started out our very first chat here saying, I wrote 635 words and have realized this may be harder than I thought. And I totally empathize with you. I totally get that. I loved seeing all of the support that came from that, all of the encouragement, all of the different stories about Live Mode wrote 1,100 words. Someone else shared that they wrote a couple hundred words this morning. There's a lot of chat messages to look through now. But that's awesome. I think 635 words is a great start, and we are going to talk about that overwhelming feeling of what 50,000 words actually feels like too, and how you can adjust for that and manage that. So don't stress too much about that. Okay, we have we have Stephanie from Scotland. That's where my dad's from. Silicon Valley is in here. Calgary, awesome. Okay, we'll give it another, let's say 30 seconds here. And Destiny has done NaNoWriMo for a few years, but never get more than 5,000 words for the month. Well, you know what? Hopefully I can provide you with some advice to help change that. And we'll get you past that 5,000 word mark and then as far as you can get. Okay. KY in the USA is someone, Kentucky. I figured it out. I am Dabble's resident Canadian. I'm the only one on the team that's not from the US, so sometimes it takes me a while. Okay. And Blaine, okay. George asking if we'll open up the bar behind me before we finish. No, I'm saving that for when my motivation wanes in the middle of November when the writing gets hardest. Tatiana's worried about the first chapter of the project. Openings are hard. I'm not going to lie. We have some time dedicated for Q&A at the end of this. So I do, I'll say this again once we get started, but ask questions that you want. With the amount of chats coming in, the number of people here, it's going to be hard for me to answer all of them all the time while still getting through what we need to. But I'll try and save as many as we can, and we can talk about it at the end there. Okay, I think we've hit the 5-minute mark. I think we are safe to get going. So, oh, and Harshini, my first NaNoWriMo. Awesome, awesome. Okay, and Vanessa's first NaNoWriMo as well. Very cool. Okay, I need to stop getting so interested in everyone, even though I'm so excited for you all. We need to, yes, Lynn, it will be recorded. It will be available for rewatching as soon as we're done here. The recording will include the writing sprints at the end. Some people like to use those to do their own sprints and follow along, but you can just stop before that if you want. Okay. So, I want to start things off with, again, reintroducing myself for anyone who joined in the last couple of minutes. My name's Doug. I am an employee here at Dabble. My technical title that I came up for myself a couple of years ago, Arcane Master of the Literary Arts. But realistically, I've been writing for Dabble for a handful of years. And now I get to do cool workshops like this. I do a lot of work with the premium community at Dabble, but I also get to host fireside chats with my colleague Hank. I get to run challenges in conjunction with NaNoWriMo. We're doing a 60-day novel challenge that started at the beginning of October. And I just get to do really fun stuff like that. I am very privileged in that I get to help writers write, and that is a very cool job for me. Thanks, Stephanie. It is a great title. Okay. One thing that I want to, we do have a slide deck to go with this workshop, and we will get into it. So for our visual learners out there, but I do want to share one thing before we get started here. One or two things, let's say, and that is if you go to, let me pull up my other web browser here, dabblewriter.com/NaNoWriMo. We have this really cool web page set up that's going to run the entire month of November. And it comes with a 20% off code that you can use if you're participating in NaNoWriMo. And you can get started with a free account for the entire month. No strings attached. Even if you don't want to use the code for 20% off, you get it for free the entire month if you want to try. And we have this nifty thing down here that is our NaNoWriMo calendar, like an advent calendar almost. And every day we're going to have really cool things pop up in it. You see today's the 1st. It's glowing, it's squiggly, it's yellow. We'll click on that in just a second. One thing I really want to highlight is just how many words have been written today by people using Dabble on this first day of NaNoWriMo. 1.3 million words has been written today, or have been written today. And for reference, the entire Lord of the Rings series, including The Hobbit, is sitting at just over 500,000 words. So we're approaching 3 entire Lord of the Rings series just in one day from collective writing, which is awesome. We are off to a great start. So let's click on this first day just so you can see what happens when you go to dabblewriter.com/NaNoWriMo. We have a lot of fun stuff going in here. Every day we're going to highlight something, and we have something every single day this month. Today, the special thing is this workshop that you're attending. So you managed to get here without this, so thank you for joining me. But we also have some cool stuff like this downloadable door hanger so that you can say, hey, family, hey, friends, I am writing. They're a little sassy, so hopefully they're okay with that. We also have a Dabble template for NaNoWriMo that walks you through all of this stuff that you can do to buff up your writing, including some character profiles, some plot mapping, but also some things to look out for in each act of your writing as you go through this month. And then every day is going to have a video or some articles, or a video and some articles. So lots of stuff going on there. Again, dabblewriter.com/NaNoWriMo. A new thing gets unlocked every day. It's going to be very exciting. Okay, and there's my face again. Let me quickly get caught up on the chat here. Make sure that CW is loving the calendar. Awesome. Stephanie saying, go Dabble Writers, amazing work count on day 1. It is fantastic. Jignaw asking here, is Dabble cloud-based? I use Google Docs, but I think I need something proper. Yes, Dabble is cloud-based. It automatically syncs whenever you have a connection, and if you don't, it will sync as soon as you do. You can write on any device. David saying, David's one of my familiar faces. Ouch, someone's fingers are hurting. David, I thought that million was you. Mamita asking here, Dabble is like Scrivener, but better. I get paid to say that, but I truly think that. I was a Dabble user, a Dabble lover before I joined on the Dabble team, and I will share a little bit of it as we get a little further into the project. Hey, you know what? Let's do it right now because I do want to show something off for our NaNoWriMo participants, uh, of which there are, what, 177 of you. This is so exciting. Let me open up Dabble here. So this is actually the template that we have in store. And what you can do, let me make sure that, yep, it's showing. What we have here is an ability. I know it's a little grainy on the screen. That's just the limitations of screen sharing, unfortunately. But you can authenticate your Dabble account with NaNoWriMo. That will prompt you. It won't show up because, again, the limitations of screen sharing, but it prompts up a little pop-up that lets you log into your Nano account. And then when you write in Dabble, we will automatically report the word count to NaNoWriMo. So nothing sent over, no words are transferred, but the actual amount of words that you write each day, we will automatically update for you. And if you don't have, or if you use a Google login to log into NaNoWriMo, you do have to go through an extra step of requesting a password because there's a little difficulty in the interchange there. But it's pretty easy. You just say forget password, you set it up, and then you can log in, no problem. Okay. We'll share a little bit more about Dabble as we go through here. I pinky promise. But of course, I have to point out Jess here. I love Dabble. I've been using it for a month and it's wonderful. Everything I could hope for in a writing software. That's awesome, Jess. Thank you for the kind words. And Jess also asking, so the words will populate from Dabble to Nano at the end of the day. The words don't populate. No words are sent over. We simply report the word count. So if you wrote 1,500 words today, we will tell Nano at the end of the day, or I think it's live actually, hey, you wrote 1,500 words. And then that updates your progress tracker on Nano. Tatiana asking, how much does it cost to join Dabble? It is free for this entire month, and then there are different tiers that you can choose from depending on your budget. But anyone participating in NaNoWriMo, you can get 20% off for a year. And I did see, okay, we have a lot of questions going on here. This is awesome. I am, again, saving some questions till the end here. I saw Nancy saying, could you put the link to Dabble Writer? Let me just pop that back up. Oh, sorry. One of my colleagues, my friend Robert, is also manning the account, so you get it twice. Better be extra thorough. Okay. Enough talking about me. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about NaNoWriMo and what we can do to succeed this month, because it is going to be an exciting but a difficult month. Writing 50,000 words in 30 days is no small task, but it is a very fun and fulfilling task. Let's workshop, says Robert. Here we go. So, how to win NaNoWriMo. We have a fair bit on the agenda today. Again, we're anticipating this going for about an hour and a half, followed up by writing sprints. There will be a short break after the workshop if you want to hang around for the writing sprints, get those words in. But this is what we're covering today. We're in the introduction. You're already here. We'll talk a little bit about Nano. We're going to talk a lot about goals. We're going to talk a lot about writing because you're going to be doing that a lot. We're going to talk about support systems and how you can build one and what goes into a good support system for this month. How to stay motivated, because that's going to be an absolute challenge this month. And then we're going to talk about some other hurdles that you're going to encounter as well. And we'll finish things off with some bonus tips and then a Q&A and wrap up at the end. I love this. You haven't failed if you managed to write some words. Perfect. Absolutely. Okay. I have introduced myself a little bit. Hi, I'm Doug again. I've written over 100 articles for Dabble, 2 ebooks as well. I manage the premium community here and do a bunch of other fun live shows and events and create resources. As an author, I've written or co-authored 5 books. 3 of them were #1 new releases. 1 was a #1 bestseller in its genre. On top of all of that, in my spare time, I'm a husband, a dog dad, an editor, a nerd. I love D&D. We play every week. I love horror movies. I love board games. I have a problem with backing board games on Kickstarter. My collection's up to like 150 board games or something like that. So if you want to talk nerdy stuff, I'm your guy. Okay, and then we have Hank. Hank sharing some wisdom here. He is my fellow Dabble live stream colleague, so he's imparting some wisdom as well, even if it's not the Dabble account. Okay, whenever it comes to a Dabble workshop, we have three pretty simple expectations. Number one, ask questions. We're here to help. The whole point is for you to walk away with something valuable. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat. Again, I have some colleagues here making sure that we don't miss any. We will have to save some till the end, just with the sheer volume of people here. But I encourage a lot of question asking. That leads into number two, which is collaborate. There has been so much positivity and encouragement in the chat. I don't think I need to harp on this one too much, but in addition to holding each other up and reinforcing one another this month, if someone asks a question and you know the answer, share your wisdom, right? There's 185 of us here. There's a lot of knowledge to go around, a lot of life experience. So feel free to share. And then be kind. This, I always say, this has never been an issue in a workshop, and I don't anticipate it being an issue here today. But be kind means be kind to me, please. I'm vulnerable. Be kind to each other. Any kind of disrespect or hatred or repeated negativity will not be tolerated. Okay, a lot. Pretty much everyone at Dabble loves D&D. Yeah, we're thinking about getting a little employee session going. Stephanie saying we'd probably be friends in real life, fellow nerd and D&D player. We have a lot of D&D players in the chat. I love it. Okay. So let's get to know Nano just a little bit here before we dive too far into all the things that you can be doing or looking out for. A quick poll for everyone in the chat. I know some folks have already been saying this, but who has participated in Nano before or a similar event, and who has succeeded or won? Go ahead, drop that in there. I have, for a couple of the books that I wrote, 50,000 words in a month was a must. Twice for two of those books, or once for two books, once each. I had to pull that off, and it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So I'm right there with you. I've been here before, and it is doable. We have a good mix of people here. First time for some folks. Some people have been here a whole bunch of times. Some have been successful. My colleague Hank, my friend Hank, has done it 10 times, won 8 times. Okay. Mar has been a member since 2009. Haven't ever made the 50,000 word goal. That's okay, though. And the fact that you've been doing it every year since 2009 is fantastic. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad to see this. It genuinely makes me so happy to see how excited people are. So what is Nano? We're going to be real brief here because I think a lot of people here already know most of this. But NaNoWriMo, or National Novel Writing Month, started in 1999. It is the 25th year of Nano this year. It brings together millions of authors around the world and hundreds of thousands every year to join this challenge with the goal of writing 50,000 words in the month of November, whether that be a full draft of a short novel or 50,000 words towards a larger project. You'll see both going on in here. My number one piece of advice that kind of trumps everything else going in here is that NaNoWriMo isn't just about writing 50,000 words. Yeah, that's a great goal. And I hope everyone who wants to reach that reaches that. And I'm going to do my best to help you. But it's also about learning more about writing. It's about connecting and supporting fellow authors. And it's about having fun. Because if you find that you are not having fun doing this, and if you're just doing it in isolation and you don't find that you're developing or growing it all over this month, then there's a little bit of room for improvement there. I think all those three things are just as, if not more important than those 50,000 words. To win is just to finish, Retro says. Yep. And that was in response to Lynn. What does it mean to win? Yes, we consider, so NaNoWriMo, to win or succeed is to hit that 50,000 word mark. That varies from person to person, though. That is kind of the norm. We're going to talk about how that might change for you. Gonna have some purists though saying, "Hey, Doug, it's only 50,000 words." We'll get there. Give me a moment. All right. So why participate? Writing 50,000 words in a month doesn't happen by accident, right? So it teaches you how to develop this consistency and an overall writing habit that we're going to talk about how you can continue that after November is over. It fosters creativity by forcing you to work in this time constraint. If you want to reach that 50,000 word goal, you need to put in some pretty serious work every day or as often as you can in a restrained time period or a constrained time period. That forces creativity out of you. It also builds your confidence. Right? If you write 50,000 words, if you write 20,000 words, if you write 100,000 words, that shows a heck of a lot. And that's very great positive reinforcement. We're going to find a way to make that even better. So. And then it can also create the foundation of a lasting writing community. There are so many authors who have used Nano to find other writing friends, to join a community, to help one another, to stay accountable. And you can make some lasting friendships this way. Dabble's been a sponsor of Nano since 2017, ever since Dabble was brought into being by our founder and CEO, I think is his technical title, Jacob. I think he's in the chat, so if he wants to correct me on that, let me know. But we want to celebrate the good that Nano has done over the past 25 years and the millions of authors who have benefited. It would be in bad faith or negligent to not acknowledge there's been a little bit of bumpiness over the last couple months and a big issue that came to light last year. But we are focusing on the authors and their journeys and the successes that we can get from this and all of the great things that we can pull from NaNoWriMo. So with that said, let's talk about goals. And I'm going to take the moments on these break screens just to catch up on everything that's going in the chat. Maybe not everything. Maybe not everything, because there's a lot going on in the chat. And so Robert will catch things that I can't. But Tatiana is saying things like, I'm making smaller goals to stay motivated. Fantastic. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about here. That's very helpful in the process. Miss Truffles, I'm going to make you a believer. It sounds counterproductive to force out creativity. That's creativity propaganda that it's trying to put out to make you believe that you can't call on your imagination when you want it. It just takes some practice. We'll chat about that. Kate, I found book notes I haven't seen in 15 years. That's awesome. I recently found some handwritten notes from like 6-7 years ago. The ink's starting to fade. The paper is kind of crinkled from being just jammed somewhere. But it was really cool seeing those notes and really inspiring. Okay. And Jane saying your W article on writing goals is brilliant. Well, thank you, Jane. On W, we have more than 400 articles about the craft of writing. Robert, if we haven't shared the link to W yet, if you could do that for me, that would be fantastic. And then last one I'm going to highlight here. If I'm not highlighting yours, it's not because it's not worth highlighting. I'm just catching them as I can go. Is that Mady here saying, I've been world building for like 5 years now. It's about time I finally get to actually writing. I say often on the live streams that we host for at Dabble that if I could get paid to just world build for people, I would do that in a heartbeat. It is my favorite thing to do. I've gotten lost in so many worlds, so I absolutely understand what you're saying there. Okay. So let's start with why 50,000 words, because it seems a little arbitrary. And if you think about books that you've read, they're longer than 50,000 words for the most part. And in fact, 50,000 is just kind of eking over the novella bucket. Now, we go for 50,000 words, not just to say, hey, I wrote a novel and stop there at the 50,000 words, but because it is a goal that is both doable and difficult. Goals, as we'll talk about a little bit more, are meant to encourage you to do something and supposed to be hard to get to, but not impossible. So a 50,000 word goal is not easy. I don't think I've met anyone participating in Nano who says, yeah, this is easy. I'm just going to crank out those 50,000 words, no problem. But it is doable, and it gets done by thousands and thousands of people every year. Now, the question then has to be asked, do you need to aim for 50,000 words? And some people have already said in the chat here, your goal doesn't need to be 50,000 words. That is the norm. That is kind of what Nano has been built on over time, but you don't need to aim for that. Because one thing I want you to keep in mind is that success equals progress, not perfection. And you can interpret this in a handful of ways. One of the ways I interpret it is that perfection would be that perfect goal of 50,000 words. But if you write 40,000 words, 20,000 words, 1,000 words this month, then that is successful because that is progress. As someone who gets to do this job of helping people write their books, any progress is good progress. Any words are more than zero. So even if you cannot reach that 50,000 word goal, we're still going to help you make progress and you'll be successful. So, if you're aiming for 50,000 words, awesome. What we need to do to set ourselves up for success this month is figure out if 50,000 words is feasible for you or for me. And we're going to do that so that you can say, hey, I still want to win Nano, but maybe my goal is 40,000 words, or maybe my goal is 60,000 words. Deborah, you're making me smile. Any words of more than zero is something I needed to hear. I'm going to hold on to that all weekend. Thank you. So, goals, again, are supposed to be empowering. If 50,000 words seems impossible, if we get a week into this and 50,000 words seems impossible, that's no longer motivating. That's actually deflating. Right? Will it encourage you to strive for more after this month is over? Because goals are supposed to be reinforcing as well. Once you reach them, you want to reach for another goal. You want this momentum to push you forward. And is 50,000 words possible given the rest of your life? There's a line that's going to come up later in this workshop that says, writing isn't going to dictate your life. Writing revolves around your life. You make it work when you can, unless you have the luxury, the privilege, the opportunity to write as a full-time living. So we need to keep all of that in mind. And one of the first things that I want everyone to do while I'm talking afterwards, whatever, is a quick exercise here. And I'm going to preface this by saying, and I think some premium folks in the chat have heard me say this before, I used to hate calendars, calendar apps, physical calendars, whatever. I thought, wow, scheduling my life, understanding my week, not for me, right? I'm too free-spirited, or I know everything that's going on. As I've grown up, I've realized my memory is awful, even though, I'm far from being old enough for my memory to be awful. But what I what I have found the value in is understanding a calendar and using a calendar. So most of us use a calendar to plug in like work appointments, work calls, doctor's appointments, family responsibilities, stuff like that. I want you to take a calendar, either on your phone, on your desk, on the wall, plug in everything from this week. And things like, I walk my dog at 6:30 every morning until 7:15, 7:20. So I plug that in. I work from 8 to 4:30, 9 to 5, depending, like whatever the responsibilities are needed of me that day. I cook dinner from 5:30 to 6:30. I spend time with my wife from 7 to 9. Plug in all of these things, because what we're looking for is the blank space that's left over. And we're going to use that blank space to figure out how much time you actually have in a week. One of the first comments that I highlighted here was Diamando saying, I wrote 635 words and realized it may be harder than I thought. If, say, you have 6 hours or 5 hours a week, let's make the math easy on myself, and you can write 600 words in an hour, that's 3,000 words a week that you can write based on the time constraints that you have. And this sounds a little defeatist, and I'm not asking you to, give up on the 50,000 word goal. But if you're only writing 3,000 words a week because that is the only time you have, your goal for this month should be something more like 12 or 15,000 words. It doesn't make sense from a motivation perspective, from a success perspective, to set a goal that is physically impossible. You're doing yourself a disservice. So use the calendar to figure out how much time you have, and then let's see if that 50,000 goal works for you. All right. I'm not going to force people to share it or whatnot, but I am going to take a second to check on the chat here. Okay. Tatiana is asking how to balance writing and work life. I'm saving that for the Q&A, Tatiana, because that is a heck of a question. Here's something I want to highlight. Shamina saying, even saying the next 2 hours, I want nobody to disturb me, can be impossible. That's just the reality of situations, right? And we need to be aware of this reality and work around it while striving to do as much as we can. That's what makes it a challenge. I'm not saying give up on 50,000 words or give up on whatever you want your goal to be. We're still going to work our butts off this month. We're still going to try super hard, but let's set a goal that's realistic for us. And James saying, however, it's not called write a single sentence in a month, is it? Exactly. This is not supposed to be an excuse to not strive for a goal. This is just appropriate goal setting. Taylor saying here, I can easily write more than 100,000 words per month. Awesome. Great for you. But that's going to be some incomprehensible nonsense. So we are not just supposed to write anything, right? One of the things that will be important for this is that we are writing the first draft. And first draft should not be incomprehensible nonsense, but they are not going to be your best writing ever. The one of the things with NaNoWriMo and getting 50,000 words in a month is that it forces you to write quickly and then you can go back and perfect it after. It is so much easier to perfect something you've written than to come up with the perfect prose along the way. And there's always the quote, you can't edit a blank page. Applies directly to that. Yeah, and Stephanie's saying here, rough draft of the story is the idea. Absolutely. Jane, a familiar face for me. Sometimes we need to learn to set boundaries too. I could easily do everyone else's stuff all month if I let them. Yes, and we'll touch on this again in a second, or maybe a couple minutes. Oh, my apologies there. And Jegna asking, how do you stop your inner critic from forcing you to edit? Saving that till the end. We actually just chatted about that in our Dabble Premium live stream. Okay, and also, if anyone, again, collaboration, if you have advice about how to stop your inner critic from forcing you to edit along the way and slowing down your progress, go ahead and share that. And then lastly, before I move to the next slide, Kezia here saying, I like to title my rough draft dumbest version to give myself permission to be messy with it. I love that. As someone who is an editor, like professionally, it's really hard for me to turn off that inner critic or that inner editor. So I have to verbally tell myself to move on sometimes. Okay. So when it comes to breaking down, or when it comes to your goal, we want to break it down so we can appropriately plan for this as well, to use that calendar that we are setting up. So assuming your goal is 50,000 words, and for the sake of brevity and my throat, I am just going to assume the goal is 50,000 words from here on out, though yours might be different. That roughly breaks down to 12,500 words a week, give or take. We have an extra couple of days, or the famous 1,667 words per day. When you're trying to figure out when you're going to write this, there are things you need to consider: family and friends, work, your energy levels, basic human needs like sleeping, eating, going outside, seeing the sun sometimes, stress levels, and then your writing needs as well. When does it make sense for you to write? How long do you need to write? Like if you're aiming for 1,667 words, again, if you're writing, say, 500 words every half hour, then you need to plan for about an hour and a half of writing time. So these are things you need to consider when you break down this goal to plan appropriately. Then, when you've thought about that, here's how we're actually going to make these bite-sized, quote unquote, because 1,600 words is a lot, bite-sized goals easier to accomplish. First, you're going to put your actual writing sessions into your calendar. So that exercise that I just asked you to do, or that you'll complete after, is not just to get a visual representation of when you can write. It is to have places where you can actually book writing sessions in. When you book something into a calendar, it gives it a lot more weight. It gives it this magnitude that makes it kind of real. And especially if you have a shared calendar, say with your partner or your family or your friends, then it's something that they can respect and help you with. And then one piece of advice that I heard that I've repeated a handful of times since is treat these writing sessions like important appointments, and not just like the dentist is important appointment, but the dentist is important and will charge me $100 if I cancel this appointment important. So there will be this proclivity or this inclination to skip a writing session every now and then, maybe more than every now and then. But treat these writing sessions as these sacred pieces of time, these times where it is costly to cancel on them, and then you can view it a little differently. Get the support of those close to you. This is something we're going to talk about at fair length when we get to the support system section. Celebrate your successes, which is something we'll talk about throughout the remainder of this presentation, and be aware of your needs. This is very difficult for me to point out the intricacies of, because everybody's personal needs are personal. they're unique, right? So only you know that. So it might be worthwhile taking some time to take personal inventory to figure out what you yourself need. Can you do more than an hour of writing every day? If yes, that's awesome. Then you can book more than an hour of writing every day. If not, maybe you can book an hour session and then a 15-minute session in the evening, or vice versa. If you're an evening person and you want to do most, then okay. Once we have goals, we need to realize that goals only work when we can achieve them and reward ourselves for them. And for this, we are going to leverage a bit of brain chemistry because your brain wants rewards. Right? I think we've all had something that we want, and when we get it, we are happy. We release endorphins. We are happier people for it, and then we want more. Right? This is like my relationship with chocolate all the time. So my brain just wants it. So what we can do is tie rewards to goals, and thus we kind of trick our brain, or not necessarily trick, but tell it, hey, when we do this, when we hit our daily goal or a weekly goal or the big monthly goal, positive things happen. And then innately, you will start wanting to reach these goals more and more. I strongly recommend breaking down your goals into these different pieces. I just mentioned daily, weekly, and monthly. And then take some time to figure out little rewards you can give yourself that correspond to the amount of effort that is needed. So, for a daily goal, it can be something as simple as, a cup of coffee, maybe a nicer cup of coffee or a snack break. For me, I'm a big video gamer. An hour of gaming might be a half hour of gaming. Again, I have to look at my calendar. Or slothing out for 30 minutes and just doing nothing. Not enough people appreciate the value of doing nothing and what it can do for your mind and your creativity. For weekly goals, you might be looking at a movie rental. Here in Canada, it's like $6.99 for a movie that's not in theaters. For me, if I reach my weekly goal, that works with my budget and is rewarding enough, special enough that it makes me want to achieve it. You could order lunch, or just dedicate an hour or two to relax with a good book. When it comes to rewards for goal setting, you need to be cognizant of your budget as well, right? So do a mix of things that could cost money if it works for you, and free things that are still enjoyable. Tatiana, I reward myself by reading. Fantastic. Which, as an author, you want to be doing all the time anyway, because that's just one of the ways that you get better at the craft. Um, I'm gonna, and then sorry, I want to point out one other thing, but first let's talk about the monthly goal, the big one. Say if you're aiming for that 50,000 words, when I hit 50,000 words on November 30th, we're gonna go out for a nice dinner. I'm gonna give myself an entire day of gaming. I said to my much better half, "Hey, if I hit this goal, can you walk the dog? Can you cook dinner? Can I just be devoid of responsibilities for a day?" Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll talk about that kind of support when we get to it. Or a night out, depending on what you want to do. There's an arcade around here that has retro video games that would be fun for a night out with friends. You might go to the movies, like see a movie in theaters. You might go on a hike or camping or what have you. Okay, the one thing that I wanted to point out here is Veronica, and a lot of people congratulated Veronica on this, and I just want to reinforce it. Veronica said, "I told my husband that I want to do this challenge so that I will need some extra time for myself on expense of other things, and he promised me his support," which is fantastic. That is a great partnership there. It is so important. You are so correct, which is why we've dedicated an entire portion of this to a support system. But I want to say, very proud of you for bringing that up to him, because it can be very difficult for us to ask for things from other people for our writing, right? There's almost this like selfishness, this guilt that goes along with it, because we're trying to say to people, hey, this thing that I enjoy doing that's not profitable, as someone else pointed out, it's important to me, and I will need you to take on more things so that I can do this. You need to find people like that that can support you, and you will be infinitely more successful, whether in this challenge or just writing in general. Okay. Athena, I was thinking of paying for the yearly subscription for Dabble if I hit 50K. Awesome. I guess That's as good an excuse as any to say that if you hit the 50,000 word mark in your NaNoWriMo goal, we do offer 50% off Dabble for the year. So that is a heck of a worthwhile goal to to strive for. We're also going to have some Black Friday deals. My apologies, Black Friday deals. But we will talk about that a little bit more at the end of the session. Okay, and then we've already seen a couple of them here, that being a perfect example of one. But in the chat, if you feel comfortable sharing it, list out some potential daily goal rewards or weekly goal rewards or a big reward for reaching your monthly goal. It can be pretty inspiring to see other people's. So it's always nice to share if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, yeah, I can't force you, but I'm not going to force you. I'm going to pull up my list real quick. Okay. So I said there we go. For a daily goal, again, half an hour to an hour of guilt-free gaming, maybe get a fancy coffee at a local coffee place. For a weekly goal for me, maybe a couple hours of video games, movie night with my wife, maybe ordering lunch on a Friday, or I guess it would be Sunday if we do that appropriately. And then for the big 50,000 words, it's already pointed out that I got a little cart back there. It's tradition for me when I finish a first draft to buy a good bottle of whiskey, either a good bottle or there's an Irish whiskey called Writer's Tears that I just think is hilarious, right? And it's not bad. It's pretty good for the price point. So I'll probably get myself a bottle of that and have a little celebration. Okay, I want to take a look at some of the rewards here. Matey here saying monthly reward will be a nice meal out. Don't do it often, so it would be nice. Excellent. Kara saying, I can't really afford to reward myself. Even getting basic groceries is super expensive. And I totally get that. And, Kara's another familiar face to me. So come up with some free things that you can do, right? Spend some more time just being by yourself or decompressing or doing something fun with friends or family outside. Have a board game night if board games are your thing. Or it could be if you have that supportive person in your life, say, hey, maybe my reward is you've been supporting me this whole time, but I get an entire day off, the first weekend of December. Something like that doesn't have an actual cost to it. Mara having garden therapy for writing time reward. Excellent. Ashley's favorite is an hour of gaming. I'm glad I could inspire. Trisha's weekly reward is an hour of complete alone time. No family, no dogs, just me and whatever I want to do. Absolutely. And I think there's an inclination for writers to be more solitary sometimes. Like we value our alone time. Even myself, I tend to think of myself as more extroverted, but I absolutely value my alone time. So I totally see that. And then is that good game? Thank you. GGTY, weekly catching up with comics that you're reading. Awesome. Oh, I like this one too. New stationery as rewards. I love new writing pens. Fantastic. My wife absolutely adores her pens. Shopping therapy. Awesome. Elizabeth isn't a gaming trout, but unfortunately I'm a little stuck on time, so I can't gab too much about that. Maybe we'll talk about that during the writing sprints if you're still around. Oh, okay. Oh, and I like Tatiana's. I would do hosting a game night for a monthly goal. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So I know like goal setting can sometimes feel nebulous, can feel lackluster, can feel not practical or impractical, I guess. But really, when we have this ultimate goal of 50,000 words, all the stuff that we just talked about, I do want you to take it seriously and put some thought into it and actually map out when your writing sessions are going to be and reward yourself for reaching your goals. Because that positive reinforcement, that cycle that you create, will help you stick with it. So don't take all of that lightly. Like that wasn't just fluff that I'm trying to throw your way. But now we're going to move on to some techniques for actually writing 50,000 words. Some of this, like the most basic technique is just sitting down to write, right? If you took the time to schedule out writing sessions, that's the best technique you can probably come up with, because that will guarantee that you have this time set aside and you have an objective. You sit down and you write, and just write like that. That's the easiest thing to do, but also a very hard thing to do. I recognize that. What we're going to talk about here, I have yeah, three techniques to let you go the extra mile, right? Because just saying, hey, sit down and write during a booked writing session is not a great takeaway from a workshop. But here's our first one, and this is the one that we're following up this workshop with, and that's writing sprints. So I think a lot of people here will already know what a writing sprint is, or a word sprint, however you want to call it. But it is when you set a timer and then you just focus on writing as many words as you can. Put your phone on silent. Better yet, put it like in a different room or turn it off. Put headphones on, whether you like music or not. Like, do something to blot out the rest of the world. Ask family to just ignore you for however long it is, and just write. Don't worry about corrections. Don't worry about typos. Goal is to get the words down. This is one of the most effective ways to write quickly, but it also takes some practice. So start with, say, a 10-minute sprint. Do that and then take a 5 or 10-minute break and then do it again. Or maybe do 15-minute sprints or 20-minute sprints, whatever works for you. The idea here is you are solely focused on doing this. Even like if you have to turn on airplane mode for whatever device you're using to write, it's just you and the words until that timer goes off. A lot of people, actually, I do want to highlight this because I was just about to say it. The Pomodoro technique works really well for writing sprints. So the Pomodoro technically is, as Kate mentions here, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 3 times. We embrace that quite a bit. So at Dabble, we do weekly writing sprints outside of November, and we will do usually 20-minute sprint, 5 to 10-minute break, 20-minute sprint, 5 to 10-minute chat at the end, and then that eats up an hour. I think my pal Robert said this a handful of messages ago, but we are doing writing sprints every Monday to Friday throughout November, starting on Monday at 12:30 Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So we will be doing that every day to help you stay accountable. If you want to join us and get those words written, we'll probably follow the same format of 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, or 20 minutes on, pause, and then another 20 minutes. Saying here, Doug and I have a friendly competition during our writing sprint Wednesdays, and we always push each other to write more than we usually can alone. It's true. When I do a writing sprint by myself, I don't get nearly as much done as when I'm trying to write more than Hank. And Jane, I'll send you payment for this plug after. There's a timer in Dabble now, isn't there? There absolutely is. So let me quickly share my screen here. Hang tight. So let's do that and share screen and Dabble. Okay, this is actually the project I'll be working on during NaNoWriMo. It's what we set up in our 60-day novel challenge. So we've done a lot of planning and whatnot. And I'll show off Dabble more in a little bit too. But what I really want to focus on is this timer here and how you can choose however long you want it. So let's say we're doing a 20-minute session. Hit play. I don't know if it's making the beeping noise for you, but it beeps. And then boom, it gives you this timer. And then I'm going to cancel that because I'm not actually writing for 20 minutes. But yes, that's built into Dabble, so you can do your own timer. Let me pop that back on. There we go. What we also do when we host our writing sprints, we do it on wordsprints.org, which is a Dabble created site, and that'll show off when we do our writing sprints afterwards. And that's where you can host your own writing sprints, or you can do group writing sprints. Either join some that are publicly available or host your own with some friends and aim for the highest word count possible. Before I move on to the second technique, I just want to make sure we don't have any questions about writing sprints. Miss Truffle saying, it's so hard to ignore typos and grammar, though. All I do is proofread / edit words every day with my other stories, so it's so ingrained in me. Again, you're preaching to the choir when you're talking to me, Miss Truffles. The thing with that is ignoring that ignoring those words, those typos, or rather just focusing on writing rather than editing is a skill. And the more you practice a skill, the better you will get at it. So it's going to be tough the first time. It's going to be tough the first like 5 times. But you do it the sixth time, you do it the 10th time, you do it the 15th time, and you will get better at it. You can also do things like disable your spell check, style check, what have you. And then that way you don't get the squigglies popping up. So you only notice the ones that you innately notice. But really, it is just practice. Practice makes progress. Okay, excellent. I think we are. Do I schedule to edit later? James, my process, especially for something like Nano, is to do essentially writing sprints until the end and just get that first draft out because I know it is so much easier for me to refine those words than it is to go back, refine them, and then write the next section. I have to get it all out. So my first draft is that it is the first draft, and then I'll spend time doing rounds of revisions. Okay. Alrighty, let's move on to our second technique here. And these are what I call inspired moments, and the technique is to plan for them. Now, this relates back to, did I apologies, I forgot who said it, but someone said highlighted calling on creativity sounds counterintuitive. Inspired moments are what I call these little pieces in between the other parts of life. A friend of Dabble shows, Michael Laron, very prolific author, has written 90 plus books at this point, calls it writing in the cracks of life. I call them inspired moments. And it's these moments that you just snatch 5, 10 minutes and you write whatever you can in that time when you're waiting for someone at coffee, when you're waiting in the waiting room at the dentist's office, when you're sitting in line waiting for your kid at school. All of these tiny pieces of time add up. So if you can write 100 words, say in 10 minutes or 5 minutes, if you can do that 5 times a week, 4 weeks in November, that's an extra 2,000 words, right? It absolutely adds up. And the thing with inspired moments, let me pop this up here, is that the more that you practice them, the easier it becomes to call on that creativity. Everybody in the chat here, everyone who's participating in NaNoWriMo, every single dabbler is a creative, imaginative person. We are all authors. We all love to tell stories. And so we have these cool ideas and this ability to create these really cool things out of nothing, right? Now, I understand people who say, I need my muse to write, or I like to have the perfect setting, or I really need X, Y, and Z for creativity. But the more you call on your creativity, the more that you force yourself to write, even when you don't want to, the easier it will be to call on that creativity the next time. And that's what I'm saying with inspired moments, and why I sometimes say you manufacture inspired moments, because you're manufacturing the inspiration. You are treating your brain and your creativity like a muscle, and you are just using it over and over again until it becomes so much easier to call on. And then when you have those 5 minutes in a coffee shop or in line at your kid's school, you can take out your phone, you can jot down 5 minutes worth of writing. And then at the end of the week, you have an extra half hour or hour of writing. Uh, so I'm very passionate about inspired moments. And I think the premium folks, or just the dabblers in general that are in the audience, can attest that sometimes I get very passionate about something. And inspired moments are one of those things, because there's just so much little pieces of time that can add up that we can take advantage of in a very intense contest or challenge, rather, like NaNoWriMo. When you're looking for, if you want to use inspired moments, if you want to embrace those couple of minutes here and there, take a look at where they might be ahead of time. So when you mapped out your calendar, you're picking up your kid, let's say every afternoon. There's a lineup every time, and you're not getting there right on time. You're probably there early. There's some time when you can whip out your phone and write. You're meeting someone for dinner, like a friend you haven't seen in a year, but you know that they have a tendency to be late. Okay, there's 15 minutes of time just sitting at the table when you can write. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel incredibly uncomfortable the first handful of times. But just like anything else, the more you do it, the more you practice it, the easier it's going to be. And the last tip is to practice writing on your phone. So with Dabble, you can write on any device, anywhere. Uh, PC, Mac, tablet, phone, what have you. My colleague Hank has this phone that has nothing but Dabble on it, this old phone that he sets up with the Bluetooth keyboard, takes that with him, types out words when he can. It's perfect. So, inspired moments, look for those few minutes that you can steal when you get a chance to this month. You'll be surprised with what you can come up with. I'm just going to take another look at the chat here. Thank you, TW. I'm also bookmarking some of these questions, like Tatiana's, what do you do if you have an idea that seems overused or predictable? Jane makes me think I need a little talisman to remind me to look for inspired moments. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Give yourself like a bracelet or something that every time you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, I should be watching out for these few minutes. Like something that will prompt you to think about those. Veronica saying, I'm not sure I would be able to write on my phone. Again, it's just practice. I abhorred writing on my phone the first time. I despised it. But I realized, hey, this is something that I can do when I have the time. I'm always saying I don't have enough time to write, and I get to work with writers every day. Like I get to see the possibilities out there. So I force myself to write on my phone every now and then. And something I think I might actually do, maybe in December, let's be real, is to just write on my phone, for 15 minutes a day, or 15 minutes once a week or twice a week, just to start building that habit up. True. And of course, there is, as Jane points out here, the physical limitations of some things. If typing on your phone is not possible or it causes discomfort, like that's not what I'm trying to get you to do, of course. Oh, my apologies. James asking, is a voice to print app good for this? So Michael Aron, the author that I mentioned earlier, one of the things he does is he dictates as he does dishes. And that's how he gets some bonus writing time in. Now, we don't have voice to text in Dabble. I might add a yet to that, but I don't want to promise anything. That's maybe in the future, but you can use other software to dictate for you, especially during this month. Dictating, like writing on your phone, it is a skill, and it is something that I try every now and then. It is even more uncomfortable than writing on your phone in public. It's really tough, but the people who do it can write so many words or dictate so many words so much more quickly than they can write. Okay. Yeah, 11,200 words on your phone, David. Thumbs of steel. Absolutely. Okay. I wish I could just highlight every message, but we have to move on to the third technique. And that is, hold on. Give me one moment here. Okay. That is what I call, or what a lot of people call, no zero days. Because there will be days throughout this process, and there might be a handful of them, where you simply do not want to write, or when you cannot write, when that appointment that you booked for your writing session that costs $100 to cancel, you have to cancel it anyway, because life happens, right? And we are working around life. We are not forcing life to work for us. So that's when we use something called no zero days. And I want you to embrace this concept. It means, and I want like a pledge or a promise or a blood pact or whatever from everyone here, that between now and the end of November, barring emergencies, you will write one word every day, no matter what. Okay, that's what no zero days means. No days when there are zero words. Every day between now and November 30th, at least one word. And why do we do this? It means you are always making progress. There will be no day this month where you do not make at least one step towards your ultimate goal. Right? It also creates this writing streak. I am a huge fan of the gamification of things and of streaks. Like I I'm what, 31 now, and like I don't use Snapchat very much, but I have two friends who I have streaks with, and I would die before I lose those streaks. That's the only reason I still have that app. And you'll also find that when you embrace no zero days, when you actually sit down to write a sentence or maybe a paragraph, you might get inspired to write for another 5 minutes or another 10 minutes. All right. So no zero days. I see some pledges coming in. TC, we got this, friend. Kate's motivated by the badges in Nano. Yes, see that gamification. Deborah, promises on your honor. Excellent. Robert, sign me up for the blood pact. Yes, yes. B or Bia. Apologies if I mispronounce it. One word can lead to many, many more. That's the thing. I am fully aware of how difficult it can be to sit down and write every day. Especially when, let's say, your goal is 1,667 words. That can be so daunting, and sometimes you just don't have the time or the energy. No zero days. You sit down, you write one word. Maybe you write 10. Maybe you write 100. Who knows? Excellent. We have so many people making the pact here. Awesome. Excellent. And Melissa and Mar are going to be accountability buddies. Fantastic. James, what the heck? 2 words. There we go. It's good. We're making progress. TW, first of my name, pledge to write at least 1 word a day. I love this. Yes, see, Stephanie, I do find the idea of every day daunting. And so that there's 2 routes you can go about that. You can, or let's say 3. You can embrace this no zero days thing, and you set your writing sessions how you need to, and then maybe on the days in between, you just write 50 words, right, or 5 words, or 1 word. You have the other option, which is, yeah, it's daunting, but you just try and do it anyway, right? This challenge is difficult, and some people are successful at just brute forcing their way through the uncomfortability of writing every day. The other alternative is map out your schedule, like we said, and figure out what goal actually works for you. If writing every other day means that you are writing, 15 days of the month rather than 10 months because you burn yourself out trying to write every day, I consider that far more successful than trying to reach 50,000 words and stopping after a third of the way through the month. I must yell at the computer every day. Nancy saying no zero words. Awesome. Athena, I was at least a sentence every day. Awesome. Destiny's going to yell at their notebook. I like this, right? And so every day, which is a great way to get that creativity going, right? To call on that muscle that we're exercising. Awesome. Kate, brush your teeth, write a word. I love that. And that's again something else we're going to talk about. We're about 2/3 of the way through this, I want to say. One of the other things we're going to talk about is making that writing habit, and brushing your teeth is a habit. You do it automatically, right? So we want to make writing just as habitual if we can, and to whatever extent you want to. And Stephanie saying here, writing at least 1 word every day does feel doable because it is, right? 1 word is a few seconds of your life. It takes longer for your computer to turn on than it does to write the next word. So I guarantee that's something that you can get done. And then Aaron saying, no zero days helped me get it done in 2021. There we go. Awesome. Jessica saying here, you do sprints every day, Monday to Friday. We don't do the weekends, unfortunately. However, when I show off wordsprints.org, I'll show you how to set up your own group word sprints if you want to host one. And also show off the Storycraft Cafe, which is a community of writers made by Dabble, but of writers of all stripes, dabblers and non-dabblers alike. And you can find writing sprints there too. Every time you go to get a snack, write a word or a sentence. I think that's a good deal to make. Okay. So those are the 3 techniques that you can go from just having your writing sessions to getting more words in more efficiently. The writing sprints will help you write faster. The inspired moments will help you leverage time when you don't think you have any. And the no zero days will help you create that writing streak and always be making forward progress. You can embrace all three of them. You can use one or two. You have to use the no zero days. You've made the pledge, right? The promise is there. So if you go back on it, I'll be very mad at you. but um, but these three techniques are things you can implement to get you closer to that 60,000 or 50,000 word mark. My apologies. I'm trying to make it harder on you. Okay. Now, we've talked about this a lot, but we're going to talk about it some more here, which is building a strong support system. Like I mentioned before, writers tend to like their alone time. This is perceived as a solitary art or practice or hobby, where it's just you and the screen in front of you and the keys in front of you. But that is not the case. And the most successful authors in the world don't do it by themselves. The most successful nano winners or the most successful RIMOs do not do it by themselves. You need this support system now more than ever, to leverage an overused line from a few years ago. Now more than ever, you need a support system for this challenge for this month. So we're going to start with friends and family, right? And these are your strongest supporters. I've shared this before in a Dabble event, but I recognize we're almost at 200 people, and so most of you haven't heard this. But I wrote my first book without telling my family about it because I felt like there was this kind of shame that I was pursuing this creative hobby. And what if I was really bad at it? Right? What if I just wasted all of this time? And so when I got my first proof copy of my first book, I showed it to my dad, and my dad is the one who got me into fantasy reading in the first place, and now I write fantasy. And he was surprised. Of course, I didn't tell him anything about that. And since he's become my number one fan, right? He's saying things like, "Doug, even if you weren't my son, I would have enjoyed this book." Awesome stuff. And if I had had that kind of support from the get-go, I would have been so much more successful in writing faster and writing better, in just having people there to help me through this process, right? So I don't want people to ignore their friends and family, whether for perceived reasons like I did, or just because you don't think they're part of this journey, because they are. Right? So there are two types of friends and family that we want in our support system. The first are He's saying, "What an awesome dad." Yeah, he is. First are cheerleaders, and these are people who are there solely to provide encouragement and get excited with you. They are going to cheer you on. They're going to ask how your NaNoWriMo's going, how the book's coming. They're the people that you can text or call or meet up with to be like, "Oh, I just wrote this really cool scene. It's so exciting, and I'm going to do this terrible thing to my protagonist, and it's so much fun." Right? They are there to just cheer you on. And that's awesome. That's a very important part of the support system. Then there's the practical support. And, to continue the story, I've actually moved my dad from cheerleader to practical support. And as a big, bald, tattooed guy, he's happy that I no longer call him a cheerleader. But this practical support are there to provide you with actual assistance to reach your goals. They are not just there to provide encouragement. They're there to spend some of their own time and or energy to help you reach this goal. And they can give you more of a butt kick than reinforcement. So uh, let me pull up the example we had there. No, it's too far. It's too far gone. You're also chatty, and I love it. But when you ask someone to look after the kids at bedtime, like when you ask your partner, say, "Hey, I need this hour at bedtime. Can you put the kids to bed for this month?" That is practical support. When it's, "Hey, I need you to walk the dog," that's practical support. When it's, "This is really important to me, and so I might need you to pick up the groceries," that's practical support. So these are people who will actually be putting time and energy into helping you with this. This will be a smaller pool probably, and it will, if you have a partner, it will involve them, parents, them. It might involve your kids. Say, "Hey, if this door is closed and I have this Dabble door hanger on, that means that you go to your other guardian or somebody else in the household, or you just wait for a few minutes if they're old enough and that's responsible, instead of knocking." So that's who we have in that practical support bucket. And one of the things that I really want to emphasize two things. Let's emphasize two things about practical support. One, you are asking these people for something, so it cannot be something that you like dog them for multiple times a day, every day for the month of November. That's exhausting for them. And you want it to be a two-way street as well, right? If they're doing something for you, what can you be doing to show appreciation for it? But two, when you have that practical support, I want you to come up with some kind of backup plan that can leverage them as well. So sometimes things go wrong. Having a backup plan for this month will help us be more successful and stay on track. To come up with your backup plan, I want you to ask yourself a couple questions. First, who can I check in with regularly to keep me on track? This is more an accountability buddy than asking someone to, take a responsibility off your shoulders, but this is still practical support, right? You're reaching out to them every day or every couple days to share your progress, or maybe they are reaching out to you to make sure you're being held accountable. Maybe they're being proactive about that. Then ask yourself, how far behind can I fall before panic mode sets in? And this is more, okay, I've missed one day of writing this month, or maybe I did one word because I've committed to no 0 days. Okay, that's not a big deal. I can make up for it in the next 28 days. But if you've missed 5 days in a row, 10 days in a row, then we need some kind of panic button where someone comes in and says, okay, how can I help keep you more accountable? How can I get you back on track? What can I do to be of assistance? Okay. And then sometimes motivation is just going to be waning. This is where my dad comes in as a practical support. I've told him just text me every now and then. Say, hey, how's that book coming along this month? Because he does that anyway with my normal books. So just bug me more this month, Dad. And that's why I need to keep me going. And if I don't answer him, or the answer is, oh, I didn't write multiple days in a row. Okay, now he's gonna come in and motivate me even more. I do want to turn to the comments for a second here because I know there's a lot going on ever since we started this section. But things like Stephanie saying my husband is the best cheerleader, awesome. Sharina saying I don't find motivation a problem, but about halfway through, I've worked through my prep October notes, coming up with extra material on the spot. Okay, I'm going to save that till the end, Sharina. Tatiana saying, I have 0 cheerleaders in my life. Well, Tatiana, Robert, could you do me a favor and share the link to the Storycraft Cafe? So I put friends and family where your cheerleaders come from, but like we have the Storycraft Cafe, or there is the Storycraft Cafe, where again, there are dabblers, but there are a lot of non-dabblers as well. It's just a writing community. And especially during this month, there will be so much encouragement and cheerleading going on there that you can go ahead, sign up. I'll be on there, basically every day. So hopefully trying to share that encouragement and keep you motivated. So let other writers, and we'll chat about them in a second, let them be cheerleaders as well. Make writing friends to the extent that you can on the internet. Some people really like doing that. Some people don't. That's okay. I like this. Mama C here saying, my 21-year-old son is my practical support. He's a videography major who understands the creative process. That's fantastic. Awesome. Let me see here. Valentine's, apologies. I'm not totally sure which one. I definitely ask my husband like 5 times a day to reassure me that I'm not a terrible writer, but he's definitely both a cheerleader and practical support. I love that. And yes, there is overlap, right? I just want to make the distinction that cheerleaders aren't the ones who are providing time and energy. They are there just for encouragement. And you need to make that distinction because you want to repay your practical support people. And if your practical support person is your partner, you don't have to buy them a gift. You can, if that's how you show your love and thanks. But you might do that in different ways, right? It might just be quality time or taking something off their plate in December. Tatiana is saying, I don't have any practical, and really have any practical support either. So in that case, I mean, think about who's around you. Think about who you can reach out to. If you have a friend that say, hey, maybe this month I'm embarking on this challenge. Can you help me out with X, Y, or Z? And see what they say. No one owes you anything, of course, and that goes for family as well. But there's no harm in asking. And again, you can always find some more practical support through like an accountability partner in somewhere like the Storycraft Cafe. And Jacob, the man who made Dabble, part of my backup plan is marking 3 to 4 days off at the end of November in my Dabble goal to account for the unexpected. Then my required word count adjusts to reach it. I'll share how to do that towards the end as well. Actually, going to star that so I don't forget. Elizabeth saying here, my spouse and most of my family and friends aren't terribly supportive, mostly flummoxed by this. Where do I find support group? So again, an online community. So there are, NaNoWriMo communities. There is the Storycraft Cafe. I would honestly sit down with your spouse or your family or your friends and figure out why they're so flummoxed by it, why they're so confused, and just express why it's important to you. And if it's important to you, if you're passionate about why it's important to you, and I know that's scary to share with somebody, but they will want to be supportive of you in whatever way they can. So figure out how they can support you, even if it's like a once a week check in. I think any friend can be willing to do that. Right. Okay. Sorry, I have so many, I have a lot of chats here. Okay. Kara saying, I tend to be misunderstood even among other writers, and your son has his own struggles. So yeah, I mean, there are unique situations, and I can't cover all of them, of course, especially being in one that I don't have any experience in. But the scary thing about building a support system is unfortunately you have to reach out to people and ask for it. It's uncomfortable, but it can really pay off in the long run, whether for this challenge or just for writing in general. Wolf saying my audio is no good. Is my audio off for anyone? Okay. Oh, yeah. TC saying here, join your local nano community. Absolutely. Audio's fine for everybody. Perfect. Thank you. Just want to make sure. You never know, right? I always operate under the assumption that everything's going fine, but like I started the workshop muted, so so you never know. Okay. And Kara saying that your family didn't get the cheerleading thing either. Yeah, Kara, join us on the reach out to people on the Storycraft Cafe, or I know people have even been making friends here. Awesome, awesome. Okay, let's talk about fellow writers, like all the other, almost 200 people here. So one of the best things about Nano or the 60-day novel challenge, again, that's what we're running at the same time as Nano with the same goal, doing the same things. So you can participate in both, is that the community is working towards this goal with you. Everyone here is in the same boat. We are striving towards the same goal. We understand the struggles that we have when it comes to writing and balancing time and all of that. So connect and interact with fellow writers in the Storycraft Cafe, on social media. If social media is your thing, in person, you can look for nano events in your area at this time of year, or check out your library. Local libraries are so undervalued. I know a lot of writers don't think that, but like go to your local library, see if they have writing groups, see if there's a writing group in your town or city that you want to join. Odds are this month they're doing something similar, if not doing NaNoWriMo themselves. Stephanie asking why is it called the 60-day challenge? Because we have the 30 days in November for writing, but we added on 30 days beforehand to do all of the plotting and character development and prep work to set ourselves up for success. Kate, Hank was saying that my audio from Canada sounds good all the way down to him. Okay. So while the best way is to reach out to writers directly and kind of establish that relationship if possible, or to friends and family, there are other ways to build your support system of writers. Respond to and interact with their work and posts. If you're on somewhere like, Twitter or X or Threads or the Storycraft Cafe, just comment. Add a comment of encouragement or if they're asking for feedback or advice, leave some of your knowledge there. Ask for feedback on your work on those same platforms. That's a scary thing, I understand, but say, hey, here's a paragraph that I wrote today. What do you think of it? Or does it convey the message that I want it to convey? The biggest one that I want to see from so many authors this month is share and celebrate your wins and theirs. This is, when you reach your writing goal for the day, post about it, right? Share it. Even if you don't like posting things online, I encourage you to share it with somebody. And especially if you can share it with other writers, that's a great way to be in this journey together. And then they can share their successes, right? Or if you had a tough day, but you still wrote 400 words, be like, rough day, still got 400 words done, no 0 days. Always reinforcing that. By sharing your wins, you're not only holding yourself accountable and keeping up your own encouragement, but you're encouraging others to follow your lead, right? And then encourage them when they're feeling down. There are going to be times when almost every author participating in NaNoWriMo this month feels down. They're going to feel unmotivated. They're going to feel like their writing isn't great. They're going to just not want to keep going. When they post about it, be there to encourage them. Be a cheerleader for them, even if you don't know them, right? We are all in this same journey together. So let's support one another. Okay. And then lastly, when it comes to a support system, accountability is the biggest thing that I can emphasize here. Because when you're just writing by yourself, so let's say you don't have the support system or you're just starting to foster it, you're the only one keeping you accountable. So we need to find ways to reinforce that because we are terrible at keeping ourselves accountable. if it Human nature is, hey, I don't want to do this really hard thing over and over again. So find an accountability buddy. That can be a writer or a non-writer. It can be your practical support. It can be another writing friend. It doesn't even have to be someone so formally in the practical support. Text your best friend. Say, hey, can I text you every day when I'm done my writing session? Yes. Excellent. They'll celebrate with you. You'll look forward to texting them. It'll be fun. Join groups to celebrate and support one another. Again, this Storycraft Cafe, Nano communities, in-person groups, and then share your successes and struggles. And I just mentioned that in the last one, but that is such an undervalued one that can be such an uplifting thing and takes almost no time to do. Okay. Next up, we're talking about staying motivated. And this puts us to, I think we only have a couple sections left in this workshop before we get to the Q&A. I'm going to take a second to just scan at the chat, take a sip of water here, because I can feel my throat and get it. All the passion is making the throat scratchy. Something Robert said through the Dabble account is you can watch all of our live streams on this YouTube channel. And I encourage you all, subscribe, hit that like button if you found anything worthwhile so far. And I certainly hope you have. And but don't let rewatching that or reading articles on W or reading any, writing craft stuff, don't let that get in the way of your writing time this month. Remember, our writing sessions are those very important $100 to cancel appointments. So you wouldn't say, hold on, doc, I need to read this article about commas. No, you'd say, okay, let's get on with the appointment. I can read it after when I have another spare 5 minutes. Excellent. Okay. Oh, and Maymita here said, anyone want to share their NaNoWriMo name to become writing friends? There's his Massey N. So yeah, please feel free, share your Nano username so you can add yourselves as friends there. That's awesome. That's a great way to pull in cheerleaders, build that support system, maybe have some accountability buddies. It's all about community, right? Okay. I say okay a lot before I start going on slide. Now that I've pointed it out, you're going to notice it every time, but I've been noticing it every time, so you get to suffer with me. When it comes to staying motivated, it's going to be really tough. There will be times when we are not going to want to write. Motivation is going to be like our number one enemy this month. So let's start by focusing on what are you accomplishing this month? And there's two parts to this. First, I want you to think about why you are writing this story in the first place. Is it the goal of writing a full first draft, exploring an idea, forcing yourself to start writing, or maybe rekindling your love for storytelling if it's been a few years since you wrote? And I want you to literally right now, whether in chat or preferably on a piece of paper, actually preferably both, write it down and then put it somewhere where you're going to see it all the time, like a sticky note above your monitor. Personally, I'm writing not just to write a full first draft, but I'm going to use this novel that I'm writing this month as a lead magnet for my email list, because an email list is an author's best friend when it comes to marketing, and mine could be improved. So not only do I want to write this first draft, I want to improve my author career with this challenge. And that's an important why to me, right? That whenever I'm feeling down, I can look at that and say, hey, I'm progressing my author career by doing this. And that makes me want to write a heck of a lot more than saying I hit 1,600 words today. And B here saying to finally finish a story. Excellent. I've started 2 on Nano this year. I changed genres. Awesome. Awesome. You're going to finish it. And Valentine, I want to start focusing on my writing, giving myself a chance instead of comparing myself to other already published authors in my family. I can, yeah, that can be a tough one. So something to note there is that comparison is such a killer of productivity and motivation. And I don't have a slide for it here, but for this month, try not to compare yourself to others as much as possible. Even when people are sharing, hey, I wrote, Hank wrote 4,000 words today. I'm not going to write 4,000 words today, but I'm not saying, wow, I'll never be as good as Hank, because we often compete. And, I'd say it's a dead even heat. I don't know. But instead, I will say, I'm very happy for Hank. Let's see how many words I can write today. Right now, I know it's extra tough when it's family. There's an extra added pressure there. But for everyone here, try to do as little comparing as possible. We are just supporting one another and inspiring one another. Athena, writing to kickstart a writing career, hopefully. Awesome. TC, I want to bring the characters that have been living in my mind and heart for years to life. I love these. I didn't even mean to click on that one, but there we go. I want a full picture, not just scenes that I go over again and again. Absolutely. I love this one. I want to help people better understand themselves and not feel alone like I did for so many years, writing a personal development book. Awesome, Melissa. That's fantastic. Great purpose. Deborah wants to finally kick off your writing career. Awesome. Oh, and here, Miss Truffles, to finally finish revising my novel I've been working on for over 4 years, and to start the new one that's been crying to be let out this whole time. Absolutely. Awesome. And then Beauty Heretic here, to conquer my perfectionism, stop rethinking every sentence for an hour at a time. You're going to get a lot of practice with that this month. Or I don't want to be the last person in the family to publish. It's fair. And Jane, to reawaken my imagination. Awesome. 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 Okay. So I said there's 2 parts to this, to what you're accomplishing. This arguably is the most important part, right? This is something you can refer back to, and it gives meaning to the struggle that we're going to have at times this month. It's exciting. It'll be fun. We love doing it, but it will be hard. And this will help remind you why you're going through those hard patches. I also want you to think about what you're actually writing. Now, this is more practical than, theoretical or meaningful, but the more that you plan your story or understand your story ahead of time, the easier it's going to be to keep going when that going gets tough. You're going to run into writer's block or stalls in your imagination, and it's November 1st, so we can't do a ton of planning or prep now, right? We're in the midst of it now. We're writing every day. But for now, summarize your story in 1 or 2 short sentences, and when you have time, maybe this weekend, next week, jot down short summaries of at least a few key scenes if you haven't already done a lot of plotting. And I recommend this even for people who consider themselves very hardcore pantsers. Give yourself just a little bit of information to fall back on when that time constraint really adds a lot of pressure to your discovery writing. Okay. And I mean, I forced everyone to tell us why you're writing, but I'd really love to hear a 1 or 2 sentence summary of the story you're going to be writing. For myself, I'm writing a prequel story to my existing dark fantasy series where I'm using a secondary character from the second book. And she is showing up. My main characters are angels, and the main baddies are usually demons. This angel is showing up at the beginning of the apocalypse, and things don't go well. She gets separated from her fellow angels, so she needs to find them, rescue the humans from this particularly nasty demon in the city, and get them to safety outside of the city. Um, I've spoken about it at length in our 60-day challenge live streams, but really aiming for dark fantasy mixed with a little bit of like Tomb Raider survival style vibes. Okay, let's see. M here. I'm writing a gothic novel. A young woman sick of being ill all the time makes a deal with the devil to become an artist. Very interesting. Hank, my fellow dabbler here, also writing a devil deal story. Writing an anthology of short stories following an array of characters from the perspectives of the house they all live in at some point. Very cool. Oh, I like that. I mean, I like them all. Don't get me wrong. Just because I don't scream very cool your story idea doesn't mean I don't think it's very cool. I just caught off guard by that one. A story about someone who realizes her father is a psychopathic serial killer and works to find proof to get him arrested. Ooh, good twist. Kara's working on multiple projects. One's a memoir. Yeah. Be published on your 60th birthday in February. That's the main one. I'm going to check in on in February. Jane's writing 2 sentences. Or sorry, you're saying 2 sentences for me. You know what? I got the stage. I can say a few more. Yeah, here's Hank. Buddy Deadweiler sold his soul to the devil. Now he wants it back. Like, that's such a great back cover, bold, top of the blurb thing. Rom-com about a girl transported into a novel who is the villainess of the novel's henchman. Oh, cool. Awesome, awesome. James, smugglers trying to get valuable artifact out of, is that the People's Republic of the Congo? Did I get that right? Very cool. There's so many cool ones here. Awesome. Looking forward to it. And you've told me about it now, so you have to write it. That's the rule, right? Should have put that somewhere in the description. Very cool. We have some awesome ones here. Again, I can't share them all because we're already at an hour and a half. And I said this whole thing, we started 15 minutes into it, so I still got a little bit of time, but let's carry on, please. So sometimes your motivation will wane, or sometimes it will just disappear. Here are some ways to get it back. Remember your why. That's what we just talked about and shared. That's why I want it posted somewhere that you can see regularly. So if you're struggling typing on the keys, you can look up, boom, it's right there. Something meaningful to you brings you back to your work. Sometimes visualizing the end is really helpful as well. Think about how you will feel when you hit that 50,000 word mark or whatever your goal might be. And really take some time. It might sound a little cheesy to you, but take some time, sit there, close your eyes, and just visualize how you will feel in that moment. Embrace or rework your goals and rewards. So revisit if your goals and rewards aren't working for you. You might need to tweak them, maybe do something to motivate you more, maybe more frequent rewards, and really lean into them, right? Lean into that positive reinforcement. Then lean on your support system. That's why we made them in the first place, for the motivation when it wanes. That's where your support system comes in. And then you can also do something just to make writing more fun. Go write somewhere else, right? Change up the scenery, put different music on, try just writing, 500 words of something absolutely ridiculous. Just make it more enjoyable. Or if you're like me and you like really, really dark, gruesome stuff, write something completely absurd and mind bending. That's fun for me. Use that to spark the motivation. And I mentioned this before, but one of the things that can kind of kick motivation to the curb is by developing a writing habit. And this way, you don't actually need motivation. You're always motivated because, like brushing your teeth, as we said before, it's just something you do. And this is where you pull out that imagination. You've started exercising it, so it is there basically on demand. Or It's there on demand enough that you can write something and fix it up later when you do your revisions. So, how do we develop a writing habit? It's a tough question. Starts with routine, consistent writing time, consistent as much as you can be as well. So, same time, same place, over and over again, same situation. A lot of people will use different triggers like a candle, so you have that same scent, or the same playlist, so you're hearing the same noises, the same cardigan, so you feel the same cozy when you're writing. That's not totally doable. It's also not feasible for some people to write every single day. It might be every other day. It might be, if it's only on weekends, NaNoWriMo is going to be really tough for you. But outside of November, it might only be on weekends. But the more consistent you are and the more regular you are, the more routine this is going to feel. And you're going to be able to just fall into writing that much more easily. On top of the same environment, to develop that consistent routine, get rid of distractions as much as possible. Again, phone off, on silent, or in a different room. Close the door if you have a noisy household. We have those door hangers at dabblewriter.com/NaNoWriMo for you. Use them, right? Talk to your family as well. Say, hey, this is important to me. Like, don't just close the door and put up a passive aggressive door hanger and expect them not to wonder what's going on. But get rid of as many distractions as you can, and then set boundaries, which goes hand in hand with that one. But it's beyond, hey, don't try not to interrupt me while I'm writing, but hey, understand I might not return your phone call for an hour or so because I've turned my phone off for writing time. Or no, sorry, I can't go out this weekend or babysit or do whatever, because I have to dedicate some time to writing. Right? We need to establish those boundaries. Okay. And then I know it's ambitious, but I want this writing habit that you start to develop in November to continue after November 30th, albeit in a more sustainable way. We are aiming on average to write 1,667 words per day. For a lot of people, that's not sustainable long term, right? If you're squeezing in those hours when you can't do that every single day for the rest of your life. Full-time authors like Stephen King, famously said he writes 2,500 words a day. That's his goal. That's great because that's his job, and he's a multimillionaire. And the things that you have to do, like cooking, he might have a cook or somebody cleaning the house, or he might have somebody that can go and do things for him. For us, that's not necessarily the same situation. So think about developing that habit loop to reinforce what you've already started. That I mentioned candles being a trigger before, but now the time and place that you've been writing for the last 30 days, that's going to be your trigger. Your brain's going to say, hey, I'm sitting down here at this time, we're going to write. And that leads right into the routine. And then just keep it consistent. Again, it doesn't have to be every single day. If your writing routine is, or your writing habit is every other day, your brain will start understanding, okay, it's Wednesday at 8 a.m., time to get into writing mode. Friday at 8 a.m., time to get into writing mode. Track your progress. Use a physical or digital calendar to record your progress, or Dabble has built in goal setting. And let me just share that real quick. So again, here's my Dabble project. So you'll see on the right here is the goals and stats page. Again, apologies, a little grainy because the limitations of screen sharing. But you have your goals and stats, and I have mine set to 1,667 words per day. And as I write, this little bar, you'll see when I did like my prep work back here, my little bar will fill up telling me how many words I actually wrote. And if we go to here and I start typing, if I say once upon, oh my goodness, 2 words. Come on, Doug. You're an editor. Once upon a time, it's now tracked 4 words today. And when I get to that 1667, I'll get a little celebratory message, and my remaining goals has adjusted. This will change based on what I've written today and tomorrow, or for tomorrow. And then this will just keep track of my progress. It's an awesome feature built into it. It's one of the reasons, honestly, that I started using Dabble in the first place. And then regular rewards. Like, just like, you deserve a little treatsy, right? You've earned it. If you're working that hard for that long beyond November, trying to keep up this writing habit, don't give up those goals and rewards. Right? We are leveraging what we can to make this successful, and that means telling yourself, "Hey, this is a good thing that I'm doing. I want more of it." Again, be cognizant of the um, cost, the budget. That's what I'm trying to say. And then lastly, this is something that I've hit on over and over again. Just be flexible. Your writing needs to work with your life, not rule it. Right. So we write when we can. We don't say, well, we might establish boundaries for this challenge. We won't say, no, I can never do something with you on Saturday ever again because that's when I'm supposed to be writing. Life happens, emergencies happen, your family and friends need you and you need them. So just be flexible with it. Don't think that it is immovable, though still consider it important. Okay. Okay, we're so close to the end. I can taste the Q&A session from here. So apologies, we are going more than the hour and a half. I thought we would make that timeline, but we did not. So again, if you do need to jump out at any time, this is available as a recording forever. It will be on our YouTube channel. Again, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you're having a good time. Let me just catch up with the chat real quick. Oh, and I see that Jessica is getting your son into Nano this year. He just turned 10. Goals to write for an hour after. I absolutely adore that. I've honestly been thinking, not this month or last month because things have just been very busy doing these cool events and preparing for this month, but really want to get into like volunteering, doing some program at my local library for writing, like spread that in person as well as online. Okay. So actually, we're going to talk about some hurdles that we're going to hit because you will hit hurdles beyond just the motivation, right? And let's go to writer's block, the dreaded writer's block. Sometimes the words just won't form, right? Writer's block is a challenge, but it is one we can beat. And I want to start this by saying, because it's not on the slide, that writer's block, a lot of people will like deify it or make it a little more mythical, that is this like infection or this monster that is stopping us. And writer's block tends to have an external source. Honestly tends to be rooted to motivation or energy levels. So if you feel you have writer's block, I have some tips here to help get you through it or over it. But anytime you feel writer's block coming on, take a step back and do a bit of a self-analysis, right? Have you gotten enough sleep? Are you starting to get burned out on this? Do you not have the support that you need? Like what's going on outside of this? Because generally the words will form, something else is stopping them. So a couple of pieces of advice here. Some free writing. Just write anything that comes to your mind for 5 to 10 minutes. Total nonsense if you want. I just said, I love spooky stuff, so write some mind-bending, cosmic horror, absolutely absurd stuff that I'd see in like an indie horror film. Right? Just get that imagination going. If you're not a horror fan, write the ooey gooeyest love scene you can, or something completely absurd like a goat that can talk and it goes to school or something. It's pursuing a degree in something. Skip ahead. I do this quite a bit. Books are linear generally. We do not need to write them linearly. If you are stuck on a scene, you don't know how it's going to end, jump to the next one, right? This is more about momentum than it is about being chronological. Or if you find you're really struggling to write like a chapter or you don't know what's coming next, but you have this really cool idea for a scene 5 chapters from now, write it. Jump ahead and write it. Nothing's stopping you. You might have to make some changes when you fill in the gaps in between, but just have fun with it. Suddenly ninjas attack. That's another way to do some free writing. And change your approach. So switch from writing to brainstorming or outline, like revisit your outline. See if there's anything you can do to buffer up your next writing session, or just change your environment. You'd be surprised how your brain reacts when you just switch up where you have been. It's good for routine and habit building to write in the same place, but sometimes you need a little bit of change. Jeanette asking, do the free writing brainstorming words count? I That's more up to you. If you're free writing in the manuscript part of Dabble, that's what's being tracked with NaNoWriMo, or that's what's being tracked in our 60-day novel challenge. If you write them outside of that, it will not track for you. So it might not count towards the 50,000 words. That said, you can free write something about your story that you can just save until later, and it might turn into something that you use after November. Right? No words are wasted words here. Stephanie, suddenly a dragon bursts into the room like the ninjas. Elizabeth, I see your question there about what if you have no idea where your story's going. I'm going to save that till the end. Because that's less writers. I mean, that's kind of writer's block, but I think it warrants a bigger conversation. Okay. Then there's the time crunch. We have 168 hours a week, I think, and they get eaten up pretty quickly. We have to sleep, we have to work, we have to do grocery shop, we have to walk the dog, we have to take care of the family, we have to spend time with the family, right? We have to do laundry. Everything is competing for our time. So what if you feel like there isn't enough? Well, we already did the calendar exercise, so you should have a good idea of how much time you actually do have. So lean into what you know to be true. But on top of that, micro writing sessions. So plan for 5 to 10 to 15-minute writing sessions, or embrace those inspired moments that we talked about before, right? But if you can't sit down for a full hour one day and you didn't block that hour-long writing session, let's say you're going with hour-long ones, sit down for a 15-minute one instead. No one says that there's a minimum time for writing sessions. So write whenever you can. Don't spend precious time on editing. Focus on writing. I've seen this a couple times in the chat, how people are worried about this. Just practice it, right? And if you have to turn off your spell checker, turn off your spell checker. If you have to, if you're using something like Grammarly that usually requires an internet connection, turn off your internet so it doesn't have that capacity. Like, just practice not editing, practice just writing. Use something like writing sprints so you have that time pressure to just keep pushing forward too. Say no more often. This ties into setting boundaries that we talked about before. But remember, your writing time is precious. Practice saying no to some things. Now, there are things that you cannot say no to. I'm not, don't say, Doug told me to say no, so I'm not going to pick up my kid from school or go visit my mom this weekend, even though I promised her I would. Like, there are some things that you should not or cannot say no to, but there are probably some things that you can or should say no to if this is super important to you, right? And only you can be the judge of what is more important for this month. And then sometimes you just need to change the goals, right? Maybe you started the month thinking, okay, 50,000 words is doable, but now we're halfway through and that is no longer a realistic or attainable goal. There's no shame in changing your goals. Remember, goals are meant to motivate us and prompt us to do more afterwards. So if you're at 10,000 words on the 15th, revise your goal down to 20,000 words and then crush that 20,000 word goal, write some more in December. I would be thrilled if someone from here said, Doug, I couldn't hit 50,000 this month, but I wrote 20,000 this month and I wrote 20,000 in December. I would be happier with that than if you said, I really tried hard for 50,000, but I just couldn't make it, right? That is more of a win for me. Oh, hold on. From now on, whenever I don't want to do something, I'm going to tell people Doug told me to say no. Brutal. All right. And the last one is just burnout. And this is tied to motivation, but like, you really need to take care of yourself in this challenge. It demands a whole lot, and only you know, or basically only you know, when you're going to start to burn out. So when it comes to this, pace yourself, right? That's why we try to do more in the beginning, because we will start to burn out, or motivation will start to fade, or things will come up. So don't try to maintain like a 4,000 words per day rhythm. That just doesn't make sense. Book in days off as well. Sometimes you're just going to need them, right? Sometimes you need every other Saturday off because you just can't write anymore, and it'll make you write more on Sunday. Do that. We often treat writing as a form of self-care because we love it. Like, writing time is special to us, but we're putting in a lot of writing time this month. So find another way, like exercise, some more sleep, or just relaxing. Work relaxing into your daily or weekly rewards, and make sure to take care of yourself. And then again, just check in with yourself. Like let's say every week, just do a little self check. See how you're feeling. Is this sustainable? Are you completely zonked from it? Can you write more? Right? Can you fit more writing sessions in going the other way as long as it's sustainable? Go for it. Okay, we have three quick top tips for NaNoWriMo before we get into the Q&A session. We're there. Number one, embrace the challenge. So remember, consistency is more important than perfection. This challenge is about pushing yourself to write a lot and to write it regularly. It's not necessarily about the 50,000 word goal or whatever goal you want. Have fun with it, interact with other authors, celebrate your successes, and just show up. Right? Just show up whenever you're supposed to show up. Be flexible. This is like you need to hold this close to your heart and remember it every now and then because inflexibility in this will cause you to develop resentment towards your project if you let it fester for too long. Be flexible with your writing. Let things take precedence sometimes if you need to. Say no when you can, but don't say no to everything. Right? Be realistic about your writing time and your goals. Just don't be too rigid because somebody else is pursuing 50,000 words this month. And then celebrate. I've mentioned this a handful of times, but I got to reinforce it here. Small wins keep you going. Reward yourself. You are doing something really cool, something really difficult, and like you're putting yourself out there and saying, "I'm going to take on this challenge. No one's forcing me to do it. I just really want to do it. It's very important to me. I love writing." So celebrate your success along the way. Celebrate your daily wins, celebrate your weekly wins, celebrate other people's wins. Like just have a good time and make yourself want to do it more, and you do that through celebrating. Okay. Q&A time. So I have banked a handful of questions, including Tatiana just asked one here. I put them all into a list. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them now. We will be here. I'll answer a handful of them. Then we'll have a short break afterwards when then we'll jump into some writing sprints. So we're hitting the 2 hour mark. I really thought this was going to be a shorter workshop, but I guess I just had so much to that I wanted to share and celebrate with you guys. Okay. Let's actually, I know I have a list, but Matt's just popped this in. How long does a novel have to be? There's no technical minimum. However, 50,000 words is generally considered like the lower end, maybe 40,000 at the lowest part. If you're trying to get traditionally published, they will have their own guidelines that they're looking for, including a maximum that they're probably looking for. You're also going to want to look at your genre. Things like fantasy tend to run over 100 or 125,000 words. Things like thrillers tend to be closer to the 70 or 80,000 word mark. Right? If we're aiming for 50,000 words, then it's a shorter novel, but sometimes you're just writing 50,000 of a larger work. Okay. Okay, let me just go through. I see a couple more coming in, but I want to just jump back to a couple of them. Tatiana mentioned I'm nervous about writing the first chapter of my project. The first chapter is hard. It's not only like mentally intimidating because you're starting this big project, but openings tend to be harder to write than other things because you need to have a hook with it. You need to draw readers in. My biggest piece of advice for this, and I, suggest people share their own advice as we go through these questions as well, but just write it. Even if it comes out poorly, just write it so you can get onto chapter 2 and then chapter 3. And then you're going to develop this momentum throughout the month to carry you towards your goal. And then you can come back and make the first chapter better. You can get outside feedback on it, see what you need to fix up, perfect the prose, but don't let that first chapter stop you. Or heck, if you're if you're intimidated by it to a huge extent, just skip it. Start on chapter 2. That's the easiest way to do it. Shamina saying here, Les Miserables was over 500,000 words. No modern publisher would put up with it, though. No, absolutely not. Okay. Kezia is asking, I'm struggling to structure my story since it's a series of short stories rather than a traditional novel. This is this could be like a bit more of an in-depth conversation. It's going to be tough for me to provide too much advice in a situation like this, but then just focus on the structure of each story first and foremost. If they all link together, which I assume they do, if they are a series of them, then you can look at the bigger picture. You know, what's the beginning, middle, and end? What's the development across them all? But for now, just focus on the structure of each story and then fit it in accordingly. You can do some revising afterwards as well. Again, you're going to hear me say do some revising afterwards quite a bit because this is a time crunch challenge. We have a deadline that we're trying to hit our goal by. So if something is giving you a hard time, you just skip it, push through it, deal with it on December 1st. But if your short stories are a larger series, that larger series has a story in itself. So where do those short stories fall into it? Let me see here. Okay. Mady asking, can you use Dabble from a phone with a Bluetooth keyboard? You absolutely can. This might have come in before I shared the analogy about Hank, but that's exactly what my colleague and friend Hank does. He has just Dabble on that phone. He carries that and the keyboard with him, and he can just get some words in whenever he can. TC, I will absolutely walk through some Dabble in just a sec, or after we get through a couple of these questions. Tatiana also asked about balancing work and life. So leverage the things that we talked about in this workshop. Start with the calendar, right? Figure out where you can have writing sessions. Not all of that white space that you find in a calendar will be available for a writing session because you have life as well. So work around your commitments, work around work itself. And then when you have that white space, talk to your family, talk to your friends, figure out where you actually have time to write, and then impress upon them how important it is for you to have this time to write, right? And get them to help you out with that. Okay. Sharina said, I don't find motivation a problem, but about halfway through, I have worked through my prep October notes. Coming up with extra material on the spot can be a real challenge. What do you suggest? I would suggest have a like a living document, a running note where whenever you have an idea about something that could happen as you're writing, you can quickly jot it down. If you're using Dabble, that note is one click away. But it could be like a notepad beside you. It could be a note on your phone that you switch over to real quick. Just keep that bank of ideas as they come to you. You could also, if you have an extra little bit of time, interview your characters, figure out what their goals and motivations are, and see how you can work that into a subplot. That's good, Robert. That's good. Okay. Same thing. Elizabeth is asking, what if you have no idea where your story is going? Then it's okay to take some time to think about the future, to plan things out. Ideally, in this situation, you haven't hit the end and you're just shy of that 50,000 word mark, but focus on your character then. Character and plot are like that. They're like the same thing. They go hand in hand. They can't exist without the other. So think about what your characters want. What is their goal? What are their relationships with one another? How do they help or hinder one another from reaching their goals? What's part of their backstory that maybe you could draw on? What is a new goal that you could give them that makes sense with their larger goal? Really lean into characters if you find you're struggling to come up with new plot points or scenes. I gotta keep jumping back between the chat and Kate's new inner editor is named Doug too. Yeah, and that means you're not a pantser. And it's okay not to be a pantser. There are pros and cons of being a pantser or a plotter, right? And embrace the best aspects of either. That's what I do. I do more plotting, than I think the majority of authors do, but I also leave room for that free writing. And so maybe if you've come up to this kind of block and you don't know where to go next, revisit your outline, see if you've hit all those beats, see if there's something that you can add. Internal conflict too. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So internal conflict being what is going on inside of the character that is stopping them from pursuing their goal. How can you exacerbate that? How can you make it worse? How can you show them trying to overcome that? Okay. Tatiana asking, what do I do if I feel my writing isn't good enough? Well, the thing is, and I've been there, right? I'm writing my sixth book, and I guess this will be my seventh by the time we're done in November, and I still have that imposter syndrome peeking up every now and then. Uh, the good news about NaNoWriMo and this timed writing challenge that we're in is that no one else is reading this. This right now is just for you. And you might share snippets or you might share pieces you're really proud of, but just write, like have fun doing it, get those words down. And anything you write now, you're going to spend time revising and making better later. My best writing rarely comes from the first draft. Like very, very little of it will emerge in the first draft. I then go back and make it better. It's like when I'm speaking, I often will just ramble and then sometimes the words aren't great. But if I take some time to think about it, or maybe I'll correct myself after, then they sound better, right? It will never be perfect the first time around. And the more you write, the better you will get at writing. The more you read, the better you'll get at writing. The more you participate in things like this, the better you will get at writing. So just the more time you spend doing this sort of stuff and actually writing your stories, you will grow as an author. Your vocabulary will expand. Your knowledge of storycraft and like language will expand. It all just builds on top of one another. So, it sounds maybe a little obnoxious, but you just do it. You just do it and trying to have fun because right now it's just for you. Vanessa asks, what are some ways you have celebrated your daily, weekly wins? Again, I'm a big fan of video games. And there's one game out right now, Deadlock, that is just absorbing my life. So I've had to limit myself on how much I can play it. And now I'm tying it to my writing successes. So that is why, if I reach my goal, okay, I get half an hour, which is probably like one match of Deadlock. If I do it for a whole week, okay, I get like a whole evening of it. My monthly goal is going to be the bottle of whiskey, so not tied to that, but that's what I use. Or movie rentals. I'm a huge movie fan, especially horror movies, and it is spooky season, so there's plenty for me to watch. So I'll tie it to that. It's all about these just little things that you enjoy that your brain wants more of. Yeah. Maybe asking, do you have any tips for if you're entering a very popular genre like tradition? Oh, sorry, that's my dog barking because someone just rang the doorbell. Uh, Sorry, you're gonna have to hear that for a little bit if you can hear it. Um, like fantasy adventure, it's a very broad question. However, Robert, if you're still hanging around in here, can you share the fantasy category of W, the link to that? Spooky season's not over, Hank. We have a bunch of articles on fantasy that you can read in your spare time to kind of buff up on that. But again, at the risk of sounding obnoxious, the best way to understand a genre is to read it. So just read a whole bunch of fantasy. Use audiobooks. If you find that your time to sit down to read is limited. Thank you, Robert. Perfect. There we go. We have a bunch of articles on fantasy. It's a very fun one. Andy here. I haven't finished the prep activity. Should I start writing or don't wait? It's especially with such a big goal. We only have 30 days to get this done. Start writing now. When you have extra time, you can go and do more prep activities, and that will just prepare you better for the next scene or the next chapter or the next act. But I would say start writing ASAP, and we will do some writing sprints. That's still the plan. We'll do some writing sprints after this. And then TC, can you walk through some of Dabble? Yeah, certainly. Let me make sure there is no other. Okay. So if another question comes up, Hank, Robert, I'm counting on you to provide a text answer because I won't be able to see it while I'm sharing my screen. But let me remove that. Okay, cool. So this is Dabble. And this is fun because I'm so used to just, I chat with dabblers a lot. So I get to show them little tips and tricks, but this is Dabble in its entirety. Um, so this is my book for this month. Heavenfall. This book one, I plan on doing a sequel. I have all my chapters laid out here. So on the left here is the manuscript, and you can actually have more books. So if I collapse that, I can add a new book, and this will be. It will eventually exist, right? Um, so we can have multiple books in a project, which is great when they share characters and whatnot. And then I have a bunch of my chapters mapped out here with different scenes in them. And you'll note some color coding there, and I'll show you what that means in a second. It's all empty because I didn't want to jump ahead and start writing before November started. I wanted this to be, as true to form as I could. Here is the plot grid. And this is, Dabble's defining feature. It is the thing that people love most. One of the things that people love most, and it's one of the things that initially caught my eye. So the plot grid is a way to plan your manuscript by linking notes directly to it. And you'll note the leftmost column here is scenes, and all of these are tied to a particular scene in my novel. Descending to Earth. This is. I can't actually. Oh, there we go. Descending to Earth. Right. Same thing. And so now I can open it up. I can put as many notes in there if I want, or as I want. And then I also have all these other, we call them plot lines, but they can be plot lines or they can be something else. So Nymir is my main character. This is her internal journey or her character arc. And I have a couple notes in there as well. A relationship arc that I have between her and another character. Then I have the setting and a couple notes about the setting that I want. A theme that I want to explore. And then, like I said, she's from another book, so I want to include some details from that other book, just as a reminder to myself. Now, the cool thing is when I plug these things into the plot grid, if I go over here and then go to my notes, all of those cards are right here. So I can pop that up and I can see the notes. I can see the little summary that I made for this. And if I drag this out far enough, it actually shows it while I'm writing there. Now, even though it's showing it all there, if I, just start typing gibberish, let me make sure I didn't disable it. No, it should be good. Man, typing gibberish in front of people, the least exciting thing. Bear with me for a sec here. Okay. Oh, it was just fading away. Okay. I don't know if you caught it, but we do have focus mode and it automatically enters and it will drift everything apart or away from you so that you can just focus on you and the words. Dang it. I knew it was going to do that too. Oh, I just didn't know you could access the plot grid from the menus. Yes, that's the best part. So we have the plot grid there. Then we've been doing the 60-day novel challenge again in conjunction with NaNoWriMo. So we have that month of prep. And then this has been a template that had all of our different exercises and resources that went along with that for the challenge. But you can do a world building Bible here. And that can contain as many notes and folders as you want it to. You can add in any other notes or folders or notes that you want, right? If I wanted to do a specific magic system one, then I could do it there. So there's all that going on in there. And then I have collapsed here our actual characters. So Nymir is my main character. I have our best character template ever with some notes about her, but I also have underneath her some information about her backstory from the exercises that we did, and some information about her arc from the exercises that we did, and then some relationship details from the exercises that we did. So much stuff can go in here, and just keeps it all in one place. So if I'm ever typing and I need to remind myself about the relationship arc, jump there right away. I also mentioned the goals and stats before. One of the things you can do is book a day off. So let's say, like, I'm actually going on, my brother's getting married in Jamaica next week. So I'm going to be on a plane on the 6th. Ideally, I want to write that day, but if I can't, or if I might not be able to, I book it off. That will adjust my goal to reach my word count by the deadline. Excellent. I'm trying to jump back between the chat and stuff here. Good, Chevy. I hope that's what really scratches the itch, is that there's a lot of features in Dabble, but we build it, the dev team, I can't take credit for this. Our awesome devs do so much work to make it streamlined and focused on your work while providing you with the tools that you need, right? Like we have the sprint timer in here, but when I start typing, that just fades away, or I can just focus on my notes. There are no comments because I haven't made any or haven't invited anyone in, but you can show comments there. We have the thesaurus and the read to me. Yeah. So there's Jacob, Hank, Robert. Anything else you want me to show off while I have this pulled up? Andrea, that's fantastic. Scrivener and Miro and living documents on the side. Well, perfect. It is seamless too, and that's the whole point. And again, it is cloud-based, so wherever you write on, or whatever you write on, wherever you write, it will automatically back up. So you're writing on your phone while waiting to pick up your kid. When you get home, if you want to go write some more, what you wrote will be there on your computer. Show off images. So let's say I wanted to go into Namir's backstory here, and I wanted to do like a reference photo. You can really do it anywhere. This little plus sign, you can insert an image, or we can search for stock images. Sure, fantasy map. I'll just give it a sec. My internet's going to be a little bit slower because I'm streaming video at the same time, so bear with me. Sorry, bear with me again. There we go. Don't know why the first one didn't, but yeah. So you have the image in there, and you have some formatting options as well. I'm going to go back while I'm writing my story and say, like, why is this hobbit hole in the backstory? Chevy's asking, how long will the 50% be good for? Robert, I'm going to let you field that question because I don't want to give an incorrect answer, but I'm not totally sure if there is an expiration date. Yes, Andrea. So I was nervous about cloud-based, but you mentioned it works offline and syncs when you're back online. Yes. So you can go ahead and type, and whatever you type when you're offline, once that device gets a connection again, then it will sync up whatever you wrote. Okay. Robert clarified the 50% off a year will be good until December 31st. So you got a whole month. Yeah, the automatic backup and syncing is huge. I have personally lost, I think, about 30 to 40,000 words because I thought OneDrive was backing up a Word document. It was not. So when I closed it, or when my computer died, rather, when my laptop died a long, long time ago, I lost those words. So cloud backup is a must. Dabble team, anything else you want me to show off? You can also do things like you'll see here in my character profile, we have like a cover image. You can do that for things like, if I went in here, or can add a banner. And then again, search with Unsplash. Boom, it has a banner now. It's so pretty. And the @ linking. Oh, I love that too. And normally I'm the one that champions this. So let's say, actually, no, I don't have it. Okay, so Aeacus is my antagonist, and I have a character profile for her down there. So what I can do is, I don't want to mess up my actual stuff, but I can do @ and then either type it or choose Aeacus. And now when I'm looking at this note, I can do that, and it'll pull me right over to where her information should be, but apparently I didn't put it in. But you can do that with anything. So if we go here, so Nymir, you can do it with, oh, no, that's not the one. Sorry, I'm trying to find my note here. Let's say milestone and rewards. Let's do that one. At milestones and rewards. So that's a note that's not relevant necessarily, because that's just where I did my exercise to come up with my daily and weekly and monthly rewards for my goals. But if it was, say, a description of a town, perhaps you might want to include that in a setting, and it just makes it one-click navigatable. Oh, chat keeps jumping when I go to unclick a comment. May Mita here asking, can you put audio and movies? I don't believe so. Robert, can you clarify that for me? But I'm confident that no, it's just images right now. Taylor, if you find that your Dabble word count isn't syncing with Nano, email support@dabblewriter.com. We'll try and get it figured out. That's more of a technical question that I, as the community and marketing person, don't have the expertise to help out with, because that should be working. Okay, sorry. And we saw here Nano's having some issues. Yeah, his site's a little slow today because everyone's getting started. Kate loves the block grid, even though my pants are. It's such a versatile tool. And what we've shown in our past challenges or past challenge live streams is that people use it in different ways. So I went all out with these ones with the color coding. So you can add a ribbon, choose a color, and add a label. But some folks just do the scene and then like 3 columns, right? Or they only add columns or notes when they want to add something new. Can Dabble show 2 screens at once? Currently not, Andy. However, you can, because you can access it wherever and it is web-based, you can pull it up in 2 tabs at once. So anytime you can have 2 windows, you can make it possible. Okay, that's my face. Are there instructional videos, Chevy? Yes, we have. We have a bunch of stuff that we show off on a regular basis. We have some tutorials up and running already. And we regularly have shows where if you have a question about something, you can come in and ask. And Hank and I are always more than happy to show it off, even during writing sprints, which again, we're hosting every Monday to Friday this month, but we host every Wednesday in other months. We're happy to show off anything you need. Robert, I did show the plot notes in the sidebar. Got some oohs and ahs from that. Jegnaw, yes. So let me, wrong one. What about when you're ready to send to publishers? Okay, I'll share again. So everything here. So let's say Heaven Falls done. I'm ready to send it out here. Export to Word, Google Doc, web for a sharing link, or just a text document. And you can use this to share with beta readers and editors as well. Another thing you can do is set cover art, which I didn't point out, but you can set the cover art for your book, which is just a heck of a motivator when you're writing. It makes you feel really good. I don't have cover art for this challenge novel yet. Robert running to grab a snack and missed it. For shame, Robert. All right. Yeah, and B saying that Dabble has a walkthrough. And yes, we're working on making it easier to consume all the tools. It is there are few, if any, writing tools that are as easy to pick up as Dabble. That's some of the feedback that we get regularly from our dabblers, is that it's just so easy to use, right? And it focuses on you getting your story told. Okay, with that being said, workshops 2 hours. My apologies for the lie about it being an hour to an hour and a half, but I do want to thank you for joining me for this workshop. Again, we're gonna have a 5-minute break after this before we do writing sprints. But if you want to join me to get some words written for your NaNoWriMo project, I will be doing that after I refill my water and we give everyone a chance to stretch their legs. But thank you for joining me. I really appreciate all of the participation. I appreciate all of the engagement and discussion and questions and just great vibes that came from the chat today. You were all great. This has been awesome, and I wish you the best of luck on your NaNoWriMo projects. We have something coming for Nano every single day at dabblewriter.com/NaNoWriMo. Lots of goodies, lots of live streams, lots of videos and resources. And again, every Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, we will be hosting writing sprints as well if you need somebody to keep you accountable or help you get those words written. Or join us at the Storycraft Cafe, where you'll find other writers, dabblers and non-dabblers alike, to host your own writing sprints, to share your successes, to get feedback, to just make writing friends. There's a ton of stuff you can do over there. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been awesome to see everybody here, and I can't wait to hear how successful you are in your project. Hang around for 5 minutes if you want to do some writing, and I will be back in just a few minutes. Bye for now. Okay, excellent. I can take that off the page. I am going to be joined. Can we hear me all right? Just gonna double check that before I start talking too much. Okay, audio is good. Fantastic. Sorry, there's always a delay between when I say something and the rest of the world hears it, so I get to sit in awkward silence. My colleagues and friends, Robert and Hank, I believe, are both joining me for some writing sprints. So what we're going to be doing is using the Dabble created website, wordsprints.org. I'm going to make a group writing sprint. And everything is individual. Like, we don't get to see your words. It just makes a group word count total as we write together. And then if you're using wordsprints.org with us, you have 24 hours on that device to copy and paste it out, because it doesn't save it. It is just that instance. So, but we'll remind you to take it out afterwards. Robert.
Hello, Doug. I have emerged from the shadows.
This is the one who's been harassing everyone behind
Yep. I'm the one who's been in the comments.
Let's making a writing sprint for us, good sir.
Lovely. So yeah,
Oh, sorry.
you're welcome to write in your projects if that's where it's easier to just write in there. But you can also join us in this link that Doug's about to send. So
yeah. Are you okay with a 15-minute one? I did just have to do a 2-hour workshop.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So just for some context, every Monday through Friday for all of November, we're going to be doing writing sprints just like this. We're going to do a shorter one today because there's still so many people who've been here for 2 hours. So hopefully you took this break to go and grab a snack and things. But every other Monday through Friday, it'll be at 12:30 Eastern time, and you'll be able to hop in and join the sprint every single day. And some days we'll be doing an extra long marathon, but most of them it'll be about an hour long. We'll do kind of a Pomodoro technique where we'll do 20 minutes and then a 5-minute break, 20 minutes, 5-minute break, 20 minutes, and then a wrap-up chat. And we've kind of calculated it. So between me, Doug, and Hank, I'm the slowest of the three in terms of word count. And we kind of calculated it so that that 60 minutes of writing time should be pretty close to the average words per minute to get you to that daily goal. So hopefully we'll get there. And then we'll also have some marathons. We'll have some 3-hour long marathons. We do have one all-day long writing marathon planned. So all that's just to hopefully keep you motivated and rolling. So,
and for folks who are new to Dabble or wordsprints.org, the actual text editor writing client, the thing that you're writing in WordSprints, is identical to what you would write in Dabble. It will feel the same. And what you will notice once you reach the bottom of the page is that there's typewriter scrolling, which is the greatest invention in writing history, because it doesn't make you keep pushing your head down to the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Okay, cool. I guess I'll share mine first. Let me just close out some workshop tabs so that Chrome doesn't eat up all my RAM. And the sprint will start in 2 minutes. The subject is whatever, like, write your nano project, right?
Yeah,
write whatever you are writing this month. Okay, I'm gonna hide that, and I guess I will show. Bear with me for a sec here. There, that should be visible now.
Also in WordSprints, we do have this fun little chat feature. As Judith has said, panic mode activated. That's exactly the point. We want this timer to give you some pressure.
A minute and a half. The first word of a 50,000 word novel finished in 30 days. It's almost intimidating. Destiny's nano project is handwritten, so the sprint will be a prompt. Yeah, do whatever you want. That's fantastic, and like, more power to you for doing a handwritten nano project. My hand can't do that much writing anymore without cramping up. Robert and I will also mute ourselves while this is going on. We might unmute if a comment comes in, but generally we're just focused on the writing itself. So,
yep.
I started doing this in our weekly writing sessions, but I'm just going to share the soundtrack that I'm listening to.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know. People like it's not anything
Yeah,
special,
TW
right?
just requested if you have that playlist.
So it's the same one I've been using for a bit, TW. So you probably know it already, but it's a dark lo-fi chill playlist. I love using lo-fi when I write because it's just so ambient and not inoffensive, but it doesn't take me out of the
Yeah, it
the
doesn't get in the
vibes.
way.
Yeah. All right. 10 seconds to go. We're starting 15 minutes of writing.
Good
Let's
luck,
get it done.
everyone.
See you guys on the other side. All righty. Look at that. We got, as a group, 31 people, 10,646 words. That's awesome. Great job, everyone.
Yeah, Book Eater says, wow, these are actually really fun. That's great.
Good.
That's the idea.
Jessica saying that scared you. That's fair.
Yeah.
Try doing it in front of, 46 people. That's something that I think we still struggle with.
Yeah, when the timer goes off randomly, it is a little startling.
Yeah.
when you're in the writing zone.
Fair. I also I hope, I assume no one's actually watching when we're doing this, because you should be, focusing on your words, maybe glancing up occasionally. But if you did glance up, you might have seen me do something like, or because while I say, try and silence that inner editor, it always pops up, and it extra pops up when there's people watching. So but fun. Lots of good stuff. Are we going to do another one, sir?
Yeah, I'll be the host of this next one. So okay. I'm just setting it up right now. I'll put a link in the chat. Just one moment. We'll finish off strong.
Hank got 580 words. Sorry, Robert, I didn't ask how many words you got.
I got 377. So just above average. I'm usually hovering right about the average of the group, which I'm happy to be average. So
yeah. Yeah, average is good. There's like this tendency in language. I wrote about this for someone else at some point, that average has this like stigma associated with it. No, average is great. Average, oftentimes, better than what you need. So Hank got where was it? 580 bonus words. He's already done 4,000 today, so I'll let it slide. B wrote 1,144. That's fantastic. In 15 minutes. Look at you go. David 185 on the phone. Thumbs of steel. Anna got almost 1,000. Oh, awesome. Destiny 138. Shamina 322.
Okay, I posted the next word sprint link in the chat there. So if you want to hop into the next one, this one will be 20 minutes. But I am giving Doug an out here, since he's been talking and on camera for what? We're almost to 3 hours now. So.
Hey, this is nothing. Normally I would, but your boy's got to write 1,600 words today, and I'm only at 707. So
it's been a busy morning, so I also have to catch up. But yeah, fun little trick here. Here, I'll share my screen.
Oh, sorry. Before you do that, a reminder to everyone that whatever you write in wordsprints.org, copy it out. Right?
Yeah.
And I think you're going to share this
there for 24 hours.
Yeah. And I think you're going to share the pre-writing pasting.
Yes. So if you share here, okay. So this is what I wrote. If you just click up here, it'll copy the whole thing. You'll need to talk to Jacob about spelling clipboard correctly.
I've mentioned it, but
we'll harass him.
Harass him.
Yeah. But it'll copy all the text. You can paste it into the new word sprint, and then it'll show you your total word count. But then it won't count the words until you start the word sprint itself. And then, yeah, so then, but once you're done, it'll, as it says here, the data is only stored on this page for 24 hours. So the moment that you're done with this, make sure you copy the text and paste it into your project, whether that's in Dabble, Microsoft Word, wherever you're doing it. Destiny says, already copied it out. Good. So yeah, Word Sprints is just that. It's built only for getting together and writing. So yeah.
I want to point out Ashley in the sprint chat for the sprint we just did said that happened so much more quickly than I thought it would, and I reached over 600 words. It's awesome. When you dedicate yourself to a sprint like that, even if it's just 15 minutes, you can get so much written, so much more than you think that you could. So great job, everybody.
Black Blade says, I'm addicted to Doug's story now.
It like I said, or when does this one start? I don't want to. Oh, sorry,
10 seconds. Oh, okay. I gotta share this tab. Wait.
See you on the other side, everyone.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. It happens fast, like we were just saying.
All right. Success.
Phew. That was a bit longer.
Yeah.
We made it through.
And some folks had to hop out, like Morgan hit the wall and is headed off. So Morgan, one of our familiar names at events like this. And some folks didn't get the original link, but I think we all got there. Seagirl just joining us. But I wanted to point out that Veronica said, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And then Bookkeeper said same. But we tried to encourage everyone to keep going.
Yep.
Ashley got almost 900. That's fantastic. And Jessica likes these. Awesome.
Yeah. So if you like these and you want to continue and you're on a roll, then you can just click up here in the top and then you can create your own word sprints. Do make sure that you copy this text out and paste it into where your project is. It was looking like Jane had some trouble pasting it into Dabble. If you're still having that trouble, go ahead and reach out to support@dabblewriter.com and you can just send it over to them. I'm not sure what
I think
the
she
problem
found
might
it.
be there, but
sorry, she said weird, just found it.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, yeah.
Hank saying that he's spent today, Hank. Me too, my friend. Me too. But I think, Hank, you've got something like 5,000 words today. More than that.
Yeah. I've hit my goal. I got some words in earlier this morning, so I think I'm just over the goal with this 931. So
Beauty Heretic here saying 484. How do you like that perfectionism? I love that attitude.
Yeah, take that perfectionism.
And David pointing out 375, getting better. That's it. That's the other thing with writing sprints. I know writing sprints can be so uncomfortable for people, especially like 20 minutes might not be right for you. 10 minutes might be a better place to start if you're new to them. But if you find that you're doing them consistently, and we will be doing them consistently, you will get faster and you will get better. And I said multiple times throughout the workshop that, things are skills, and the more you work a skill, the better you get at it. And writing in a timed environment is a skill, and you will find yourself getting faster and faster the more you go at it.
Yeah, awesome. TW
I need to paste mine in.
Got some words in, not as big a numbers in the chat, but happy I started and haven't written in a while. That's exactly what this is all about. That's what Doug's entire chat was about, is making progress. And so that's the right attitude to have. Jessica Brown asks, will you be streaming the sprints? Yes. So we will be having so many events. And again, I'll just point this out at the very end. If you go to dabblewriter.com/NaNoWriMo, I'll put it in the chat here. If you go to this page right now, day 1 is live. So you can click that and it'll bring you, this is today's workshop, some free resources. And then this is some extra resources. But for the rest of the month on writing sprint days, this will be our writing sprint link. So you can go to, it'll start on day 4 on Monday. You can go to day 4, scroll down, and we'll have a writing sprint link. Again, it's at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. So you can catch us there. I think it's Abel says, wow, this makes me feel way more hopeful. It's possible for me to get 1677 words a day. That's exactly why we're doing it.
Awesome. Yeah.
So we will be streaming the sprints. We'll have more workshops. We'll have some famous authors on to encourage doing interviews, and lots of other really cool stuff planned. So we highly recommend that if you enjoyed today, that you check in on dabblewriter.com/NaNoWriMo. Every day there will be new things. Some of these days are bigger events and things that are happening. So it'll be kind of a new surprise every day, and hopefully we'll keep you motivated, keep you excited about what you're doing, especially as we get into the messy middle where things get tougher. We're going to be doing this all together. We're going to be in the trenches with you. So,
yeah. I got nothing else to add, though, man.
Doug needs to rest his voice. And I think we all need to. I
want to be inspiring.
Yeah, if you're on a roll, keep going. Keep writing. Hit those word sprints. You can post them as public word sprints. I'll just show that off real fast. So on word sprints, when you create a group word sprint, you can set it as publicly listed. And then if you want to keep writing together, you can click here on the join a sprint and it'll show the other word sprints that are happening right now. So yeah, this is where you can create new sprints. And if you want to create them and join together, you can share the sprint links with each other and just keep on working hard and getting those words in. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. This was such a marathon, such an incredible start to NaNoWriMo. Big thanks to Doug. He is a rock star. I love it when Doug gives a workshop. It's always a great time. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. Hope that you learned something. And we're excited to keep this going for the rest of the month. And we'll all get there together. So thank you so much, everybody. It's been incredible. And you've been an amazing, amazing chat, amazing, amazing audience. So we really appreciate you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, bye.